Sure, because I'm pretty sure that
It usually
everyone has
takes
a
a
different
couple seconds.
delay. Well, mine's always been like a 20 or 30-second delay. Everybody else seems to have a shorter time. Maybe it's just the way that I'm streaming or my rig or something. But anyway, I'm sure we're on now. So,
Yeah.
hello
Pretty
everyone,
good.
and welcome to another Torture Tuesday on Wednesday. Working title TBD.
Hello.
I'm Nate, and I'm joined by Ian and Tom, and we are gonna have some Malenia-mania going on here, as I've dubbed it. Um,
Is is working title Wednesday no good? We can't just stick with that. Like,
working
what?
title
I
Wednesday.
do like that one because it
That's
leaves
pretty
it
good.
open.
It's
I think it's good.
it implies that we're gonna do it, but we don't
Yeah,
ever.
If
I mean, it fits with sort of us as a
yeah,
as a people.
if Danny wasn't doing the occasional Art Tuesdays, I would do Dead Space then and call it Terrifying Tuesday.
Pretty good, pretty
It
good.
is.
Why
I
is
mean, it's right
Tuesday
there.
good
It's
for
low
everyone?
hanging fruit, but it's good.
Tuesday's the only one that can have a good name. What is this?
Oof.
It's all the
Okay.
T words.
Yeah, it's all this alliteration, and it's tough.
Well, welcome
All
to the
right.
game, everybody.
Yeah, welcome. This is about
Welcome.
how it's probably gonna go tonight.
Yeah, we
Fairly
should
certain.
have that as a sort of
Disclaimer.
like an intro. Yeah, disclaimer here. This is what this night's going to be like, guys. For anyone
Yeah.
who hasn't seen Malenia, I'm sure anyone who watches this probably has. This boss is a motherfucker and is really, really hard. So we're expecting this to be basically the episode today.
It gives us more
Mm-hmm.
room to talk about
It's
stuff
a,
while
it's
Nate
a,
gets
it's
his dunk
a
on.
very yeah, exactly. It's a very
All right.
Morpheus is fighting Neo type of situation here.
Yeah, so to that end, I did come with topics to discuss while Nate sort of toils in the
Yeah,
in the
Ian,
muck.
you have some grievances to air. It sounds
I do.
like.
I've got some grievances. Some of them, not all of them are grievances. Some are just
So,
interesting topics.
but before we get into that,
Yeah.
uh, just to bring people up to date on where Nate is at, you're fighting Melania, but if you want, you do have other options.
Yeah, I'm
I
just
figured
choosing
this
to
would
fight
be
her
the
now.
tonight, but yeah,
That is
just so you know, you've got all of Crumbling Farm Asala to do, and you've got some
Oh,
other
I was
stuff.
just gonna
So
say that. Yeah, that's exactly right.
you have an out if you'd like one.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's a very important disclaimer as well. That
I know because
I,
I am literally like also here.
yeah, because you will be
No, this has
there will
become
be
my all-consuming
frustration.
reason.
So yeah, you got and Farum Azula is probably the big prime one left on your list to do. I'm
Yeah,
sure
it's
there's still
big.
like a million other things to do. It's a big ass game. So
Damn
Yeah,
it.
I would be farther, but I had Dead Space remake to play, and that takes priority.
How's that treating you, Tom?
It is good. It is great. I think it's a very faithful adaptation, and it also adds some quality of life stuff that's pretty cool. It's harder. They added the AI director type stuff from Left 4 Dead,
oh, I've
so
heard about that.
no
Yeah,
hallway is ever 100% complete,
which
but
is
it's
really
great.
a cool
Oh
idea.
God.
Now, check me on this, Tom. See, because the way I understand it is, like normally in like a scary game, you'll go through a hard place or a scary place, you'll get ambushed by something and you'll die, right? So then you think on normal games you will respawn and you'll think, okay, well now I know this guy's behind this door, right? So I know how to prepare for it.
Right.
So is it different this way? Like that guy that was behind that door may not be behind this door this time? Is that what that means?
Exactly. So there are still like scripted events. Like there are like scripted things like boss fights, and there are like certain rooms that they have like quarantine lockdowns or whatever.
Not everything.
So some of it is scripted, but it's not always. The stuff that they throw at you in this is not like it's not going to be something where it's like it's either going to be a cakewalk or it's going to be like the worst thing you've ever experienced. It's usually like
Right.
pretty balanced for like you know
Similar difficulty but different placement.
Right.
God.
It's almost kind of like Souls games in a way where like
Yeah.
in a horror game, it's not like, you're fighting three dudes at once and you can easily handle them. It's more of like one or two dudes is still an obstacle. So if they change up what type of dudes or like maybe add or remove one, it's not so big of a game changer that it's like, well, fuck, my roll on the luck for this one was just terrible.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, exactly. It's not RNG.
Yeah, it never feels like it's like, oh, I was playing on normal and now I'm playing on impossible. It's
Yeah,
like, no, okay,
games
I
have
just
decided to
they
get
stuck
super
a
harder.
yeah.
Well, that's cool because
Um,
I think that's a really cool idea, especially for scary games. It's
it
like
is. It
'cause that's the
thematically it
scary thing.
works
What you don't know is the scary part. So
right. Like there's still the scripted stuff, and I played the original Dead Space like 13 times, so I know what happens. But
Damn it.
the scripting is great because
Oh.
there is a little bit of you can go back through old hallways to get ammo and stuff. So it's like okay, it's kind of a risk reward situation. So it makes the ship feel more alive. No pun intended, because it's supposed to be an infested ship, and in the old game everything is scripted, but in this one it's like okay, there could actually be some serious shit behind this. Do I really want to go back and try to go grab that thing I missed?
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I've been watching some Let's Plays and some streams of it. It looks really cool. Plus, it actually looks really cool.
It does.
The
I will say I
the
watched a side by side
design is
stream.
awesome.
The 2008 Dead Space for the frame rate on the PC port. I know people hate it, but it's not terrible. It's definitely an older game, but it's still playable. But man, that new one, I have to play on low settings because my card is it's getting up there in years. But man, it still looks good on low settings.
I mean,
It
the
is
art design is one of those things where like the graphics are like a bonus, but the art design
Jeez.
itself is like kind of
Just
good enough.
bad
So
timing all
yes,
around. God
yeah,
damn.
very much. The new Dead Space does kind of have that going on. It's kind of like Control in that way, where it's like the
yeah,
placement of things is kind of more
yeah,
important than the how shiny something is.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's one of the few games that's come out recently that I might like go outside of my favorite genres to actually think about playing. So
It is fun.
maybe I'll pick it up.
It has the DNA of Resident Evil in it enough that if you've played one of those, even for a
Mhm.
little bit, you'll have an idea of like what it's like.
Yeah, it does
Um,
look like the shooting is actually just better generally because you can like because Resident Evil 4 the OG like you had to stop to shoot
yeah,
pretty long.
this is not full tank controls. It is inspired by it, but it is more like you can move and shoot. You are still slow when you move and shoot, but it is more of like a. It's not strictly a shooting gallery, but it's not strictly like a twin stick shooter. It's kind of in the
Yeah,
middle, and if you can grok like what the gameplay loop is like, the rest of it is just icing on the cake.
sounds good, man. I might try it. I'll see. Maybe it'll be like I'll play it and Cherie will watch. That sounds like a good time. We'll do
Yeah,
that.
it's fun. I do plan to stream it at some point, and I think Cameron wants to have Hannah watch
Oh,
instead
cool.
of play because she would not
That would
play
not
that.
be fun for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on my Steam library. I guess I could. I forget that Steam library sharing is a thing.
Yeah, you can be sharing. Yeah.
I could just do that. Yeah. But
All
it's
right.
good. It's worth the playthrough. I mean, it's still a full price game right now, but Dead Space is one of those where it's it has just enough of like the schlocky like shock horror stuff to it, but also like a solid enough shooting and solid enough story that it all kind of works together.
Well, this is one of those games where, strangely enough, I think the story is actually kind of interesting. I
Yes.
don't know that I haven't been paying close enough attention to know if like the storytelling is all that great, but I know the story behind it that I know is actually kind of unique and interesting. So I've been kind of liking that, surprisingly.
Yeah, it is one where I have a bias because I've loved the series for a while. It definitely some of the games I haven't played the third one, which is like the most panned, but the stuff it talks about and like how the monsters generate and like why it spreads is really
The
interesting.
whole
It's not just like
unitology and the marker thing is like kind of a cool idea, very scary.
it is, and I have one of the only like licensed video game books I have is the one that explains the origin of it, or at least the
Cool.
origin like for Earth. It's
Mhm.
cool because they don't really ever show the true intentions, right? It's just this big monolith that people make a religion around. They're like, oh, well, it's got to be like the ascendancy of mankind. Like, if we all die on purpose, then we're doing the right thing. And then when they translate the actual messages by someone who's not insane, it's actually saying, like, look, like, we want to spread, but also, like, stay away from us. Like,
Yeah.
that's just like what we do.
Well, it was also cool. Like I was looking at some of like the what do they call them? They're like voice logs.
Yeah, the
And
audio
one of them
logs.
was like, yeah, and one of them was
Fuck.
talking about how
Oh man.
one of them was talking about how like the Church of Unitology kind of has roots in like conspiracy theorists
Oh, for
because
sure.
like it's so
Yeah.
fucked up. Like it's kind of a cool concept, kind of a crazy concept. So I think the original story idea is actually pretty neat. So like I'm kind of in on that, which is different for me because you guys know like I'm out usually on the story
Right.
stuff.
And
Yeah,
But
and the
you're
this one
games
I think is pretty unique and original and interesting. So
the games do
like,
a good job of like edging around it and like showing, there's the part about like how the necromorphs work and like the biology, and then there's the whole like, you know the markers are one thing, but human interpretation, like the whole like unitology and the cult and the religion thing, like it's one of those things where it's not so much like a planned thing, it's more of a movement, and everybody feels differently about it. It's kind of like
Yeah, it doesn't tell you like what the right answer is. You kind
yeah,
of
like
have to
it's like I always think of it like the end of Boondock Saints, where they like have the newscasters being like, "Well, what do you think about the two of them?" And it's like, "I fucking hate them.
yeah.
They're stupid." And some people are like, "They're great. I'm gonna make T-shirts of them."
But at
It's
the
kind of
same
like
time, you
that.
also get the sense that like the writers themselves have an idea of what the truth is, but they're not going to tell you.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
100%. In the
That makes it so that like the choices they make are all kind of like unified and kind of going in the same direction. So
right,
it doesn't
Oh,
feel like it's just
Guns Pony
like,
says hi, Tom,
you know,
yeah.
and no
Oh,
one
hey,
else.
Gunstony. Hello,
yeah, we're here too,
Gunstony.
Gunstony. What
Welcome
about
to
us?
my stream where I am not playing the game, but it's mine, and I get to make fun of Nate.
Yeah,
Everyone's
everybody was
favorite.
talking about Titsmix.
Yeah.
Well,
Talking
anyway, do you
about
think, Tom, that they're going to do
Oh my
like
god.
remake of 2?
Oh my
Did you say?
god.
'Cause I know
Tune me up
3
with that.
was not like super popular. I wonder if they'll do a remake of 2 though.
Yeah, so I 3 and have not played yet. I have it on Steam, and I planned on playing it at some point, but the remake came out.
Wasn't that like
2,
super multiplayer heavy?
it
Three?
was
Or at
it
least that
had
was a big
optional
thing, but
co-op.
yeah.
2 had multiplayer that I actually argue is really good. Well, that is really fun. Maybe not good. That's a different rant. But
2 different
3 was
things.
one where
Good
there
and fun. Yeah.
3 is one where there were 2 main characters and there was optional co-op. You could either play as, it was kind of like a Mario Luigi thing where you play as one solo and then you switch between them. But the interesting thing with co-op in 3, from what I remember, what people told me is that when you're playing co-op in 3, whether it's split screen or not, certain characters will have visions that the other one doesn't see. So like it would come to points where like your friend would be shooting at like civilians and you would be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" He's like, "What do you mean? I'm killing the necromorphs."
Weird.
And so it plays into the whole like psychological aspect
Yeah.
of the marker. But yeah, it sounds like a cool concept, but apparently like as the games get closer to 3, they become more of a shooter and less of like a
That's what I
survival
heard.
horror.
They get suffered from the Resident Evil disease.
Which like I mean, based on the
Orange.
gameplay, the shooting in Dead Space is kind of fun if you get into the loop of it. So I wouldn't mind that on paper. But
I mean,
2
I'm assuming that they are going to make a remake of 2 the same way they did 1 because they gave Isaac a voice in this one, right? Because he didn't have a voice in the first one, original.
yes.
So they said that they brought back the same voice actor that they used in 2 because back in the original 2 they did have Isaac voiced. So that sort of says to me that like I guess they're going to intend to tie it into 2.
Oh, I lived. Holy shit.
Yes,
First
at
time you
least
lived
from
through that?
did you listen to the waterfowl dance?
Yeah, I did.
Oh no shit.
No? Progress.
Yeah, for 2, 2 people were talking about this. They were saying that like 2 does kind of hold up well enough, like graphically and gameplay wise, that like 2 might not be ready for a remake just yet. Maybe
I
in a
see.
few years, but I don't think it's necessary. But then again, I also didn't think that a remake of Dead Space was necessary. I've been playing that
Right.
game for once a year, almost every year for the past like decade. So
I had no idea you were such a Dead Space person,
Yeah, I don't
Tom.
know it either.
Oh yeah, it was a sleeper hit when it came out, and for me it was
2008,
like
right, when it first came out.
2008. Yeah, if I recall correctly. I think I played it the year after.
Damn, Nate, doing great.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, you're getting down to a third. Pretty good.
God,
Yeah, I don't know if they need to remake 2. I'm always down for more Dead Space stuff. Dead Space is one of those things, kind of like Star Wars for me, where the world and everything that's going on is so interesting that I will take a side
God damn it.
story about a total like nobody
Ugh,
and love it.
it's gonna
I mean,
suck.
the fact that it's like it has some interest for me says something. It's like for the it's really comes from a niche genre, right? There's a specific group of people that this type of thing speaks to.
Yeah.
And I don't mind horror, but I don't find it particularly scary personally. I don't find a lot of things very scary, unfortunately. But
I'm sorry I'm so fearless. Oh,
good for Dead
God,
Space.
my life.
it's just like I'm just cynical.
You
know what I
find
mean?
this
Like,
Exorcist scary.
that's the thing, because The Exorcist has, I think, one jump scare in the entire movie. I think the plot and the story itself is scary. Like most scary movies these days and scary games as well are mostly about startling you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
and that's
style of
Really
horror is
make you
different.
feel
They're
fear.
relying on instincts to scare you and get
yeah.
you
Right.
amped.
Which
There's
to
no
me
good.
is like, that doesn't do it for me. I don't care about that. And I also don't get startled because I know it's coming, right? Because they usually telegraph the startle's coming somehow, and it's usually pretty easy to tell when it's coming, so I don't get startled as much as
Right. It just telegraphs it. And that's part of
exactly.
I think why I like Dead Space. Dead Space does have like jump scare elements and it does try to do it, but it's never like excessive. It's not like My Bloody Valentine about it where it's just like, "Oh man, can you believe we put this in this game?" Like it has moments where it has scares, but for me it's like
Damn it! Really?
it's
I
the
think the
setting and it's
story of
the
Dead Space,
distress where it's
yeah,
like
I think exactly it builds
even the
tension.
characters in the game get used to the idea. The first few audio logs are like, "Oh, what's that coming up behind me?" And then it ends. And then
Well, I
eventually by
think
like chapter 10, it's like, "Okay, what's the best way to kill these things? What is our
yeah.
plan of action to get out of here?"
I mean, with the necromorphs in Dead Space, there's obviously a lot of like ambush scares, right? That's just sort of the part of the gameplay mechanic.
Right.
But I
But it
don't
also
think
it
that's
becomes
why.
tactical.
Yeah, it does, and but I don't think that's why it's a scary game. To me, I think it's a scary game because like the fucking zealot unitologists are fucking crazy motherfuckers, and the mystery of the marker and like the discovery of aliens and potentially not being your friends, like that kind of stuff, like the
Yes.
whole ambiance and not knowing what happened to this ship, and like there's something nefarious and sort of scary that's happening in the background that you don't have all the information on. Like that's the
Right.
stuff that I think is really scary, and that's why I think Dead Space is actually successful in that way.
And I agree. It's exactly the reason why I like. It's why I've read like
Oh,
two of the books
bullshit.
and comics at
Yeah,
this point is because like of that exact thing. It's the mystery. And it's also because it's not shallow in how the rules of the zombies here work.
What's up, Ninja Bill?
yeah. You
It's one
Welcome.
of
definitely get
those.
this sense of like malice underneath all of
Yes,
these sort of surface level that you just don't
exactly.
know. You know it's there. You don't know what the
Son of a
motivation for it
bitch.
is though, and like what its
Oh, my
intention
timing
is,
is all
which makes
off
it really cool.
tonight. Oh.
Right, and it really is because like the books even sort of show that like whatever this process is more of those like it's just a biological thing. It's not out to do it for revenge. It just is what it is. It's the human element that makes it that much scarier, right? It's not
Well, it's
about the fact that it's not like Dawn of the Dead where it's like, or not Dawn of the Dead, but zombies in general, where it's like, oh, zombies exist. Like, isn't it fucked up how that could be a thing? It's more about like, okay, zombies are a thing. How do humans deal with it?
deal with it, yeah.
And in the
Yeah,
case of
and
unitologist, it's like, well, partially it is supernatural brainwaves and going insane, but the other half is like people propagate it. Like
yeah,
humans do, we make a thing around it, and that's what's so scary. It's not about
yeah, it's got
distrusting
multiple
the
layers.
zombies, it's distrusting the people who aren't doing anything about the zombies.
Yeah, and that's sort of like it has that
Hey, Bill.
surface level gore stuff that is like fun, scary,
Yeah.
but it also has this like deeper story to tell, a narrative that actually is coherent and they've got something to say about some of this
Yes,
stuff, which I think is
100%.
really which incidentally is why I think The Exorcist is the scariest movie ever, because it asks the scariest question ever, and it's about what if it asks two questions. It says, what if God doesn't exist, but Satan does, which is fucking
Right.
scary. And then it says, even scarier, what if God and Satan exist, but God doesn't give a shit about you and he's not going to help you? That's fucked up. That's
That's
like
a very
really fucking
puritanical
scary
view.
idea.
Yeah.
So that's why I think like The Exorcist, it doesn't have really any jump scares to speak of, but I still think it's terrifying because the premise and concept is really terrifying. It's like this corruption of innocence that's going on in that story, which is like never stops being scary. It's always chilling to think about that.
Right.
So I think Dead Space is sort of in the same vein and it has more going on in the surface level, like body horror stuff that it has going on.
Oh, for sure. I don't know that its vessel for delivery of that stuff always works. It's one of those games that it's 2008. It's got text and audio
Yeah.
log in it, but some
And
of
it's
those audio logs work.
it's got video game limitations, right? It has to
Yeah.
tell a cinematic story through interactive game clips and all this stuff.
But it is one in which, like, when you do catch those little snippets, you're like, huh, I didn't think about that. That's actually kind of, like,
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
interesting. You don't see it all the time. Oof.
Oh, God. She whipped that one out early.
Nate's response to this is, "Oh fuck!" Whenever she goes into the water foul,
Yeah. Isn't that
It's
like,
everyone's response? Isn't that
that
the
half second
appropriate
where
response?
she,
everyone's yes. That move of
Oh,
hers is
fuck.
so OP.
The delay before the first one is always where I'm
Yeah.
just like, ah, shit, here it
You gotta
comes.
start
My problem with
running.
it is that she fucking can map you with it.
Yeah.
From any place on the map, she will get to you, and
She
she
can
will
turn
Yeah.
on a dime with it too. Is the scary part. And when you can turn on a dime with a small AOE, that's like,
Yeah,
that's
you
game over.
can't. Yeah, you can't zigzag away from it. Like she will follow you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can talk about Dead Space story shit forever, but it's good. It's a fun game that I think I actually part of the reason why I like it so much is I
Oh,
like the
fuck.
biology of the necromorphs. If you I mean if you can stomach looking at them long enough, the design into how they work and how they relate to evolution is really really cool.
Well, it's definitely it feeds in also to like the unique mechanic of don't do a headshot, do an arm. Do like
Yes,
a limb.
dismemberment, which is
Fuck,
actually
God damn
really,
it.
really fun.
Cool
Whoa,
move. Always cool to see though.
Always a cool theater here.
it is
Yeah.
cool.
Fucking
do like that.
greatest. She's such a gangster. The way she announces who the fuck she is. Right after you die.
Yeah.
I love that.
Stop on your
Don't
right foot. Don't forget it.
Yeah, she will fuck you up. Do not fuck with her.
For real.
Okay, guys, I have questions. I
Okay.
want to pose some to you. My
Good.
first question, because it's been in the news, is
Okay.
Halo dead?
I would say unfortunately not. And I say unfortunate. I say unfortunately because it has entered the phase of media of any given piece of media that overstays its welcome. My prime example, Tom, you're going to get this. Ian, you're not going to get this. Ed, Edd n Eddy. It is a cartoon from Cartoon Network, and its prime was like early aughts. And you can tell when it has done that, when a show or a game has overstayed its welcome, because artistically it will change to be a cheapened version of itself.
Well, SpongeBob, I think, is the best.
SpongeBob is also a fantastic, probably the better example, more universally relatable.
You're talking about Jumping the Shark.
Yeah, essentially, but it's signaled by a changing of the aesthetic, but just slightly and into a slightly cheaper version. And I believe that is what Halo is in right now. And it's always a sad thing to see any given piece of beloved media to do. When you wish it would just end on a good note, but it doesn't. They just keep bringing out its zombified corpse.
So you think it like needs to end straight up?
Yeah, I think they should end it.
So you don't think it should be like a living franchise like Zelda or Mario or God of War or something like that? It should just be done.
The problem is that who they have doing it right now, they don't like doing it. They're not doing a good job.
It already had its end, so to speak.
Well, yeah, in Halo 3, they decided to go for, like, if they're going to do a 7th game, I think the initial trajectory was to do 7 games. Like, it was supposed to be...
The recent news, the reason I ask is because...
I was going to say, context,
For people who don't know, the reason, obviously, there's a lot going on with Halo at the moment, which is funny because there's actually, part of the problem is that there's not a lot going on with Halo. But first of all, there's been like a shitload of layoffs at Microsoft, right? As so many other tech companies. Here we go. Waterfall.
Well, yeah, apparently 343 is reorganizing, reportedly starting from scratch on Halo development after layoffs.
Yeah, so 343 obviously took over from Bungie, and they got hit pretty hard by these layoffs, and now they're saying that 343 is basically restarting entirely with the Halo franchise. Part of that is going to be ditching the Slipspace engine and moving entirely into Unreal 5.
Oh, yeah.
If anybody remembers, the initial announcement and reveal trailer of Halo Infinite was really heavy, advertising Slipspace engine as being like this amazing thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically are already scrapping it. It's done. Apparently, a lot of the development was...
Yeah, it went the way of the Fox engine from Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yeah, well, apparently the new reporting is that a lot of the development... Because if you remember... Halo Infinite ultimately got delayed by a full fucking year. It got they showed the gameplay.
They had the reveal at whatever the demo was, and they were like, "Fuck, back to the kitchen."
Yeah, because everybody was like, "Oh my god, this looks like dog shit." So they took it back and they said, "Okay, we're gonna wait another year, to release it, and apparently a lot of that was due to the fact that Slipstream is apparently really hard to work with and not very good, or Slipspace.
I could see that. Yeah.
And so now they're going to basically scrap all development that's been happening in Slipspace and move directly to Unreal Engine 5. But here's the funny thing about that. Apparently, when they were working with their development partners for Halo Infinite, a lot of their partners and a lot of their dev team was submitting proposals to them in Unreal Engine 5 anyway, and not working in the engine that they were supposed to be working in. So then those people basically just got like straight up let go. Like, which kind of makes sense because they weren't like doing what they were being asked to do, but it also speaks to like Slipspace kind of apparently being garbage. It also means that if you guys remember that they've also announced that they've been working on this separate project for Halo Battle Royale, right? That's from the beginning. It's from the beginning always been developed in Unreal Engine 5 instead of Slipspace. So like they would have had, even if they had continued in Slipspace, they'd have had a main campaign game with multiplayer built in Slipspace, and then a whole other completely separate thing of Halo Battle Royale in Unreal Engine 5, which clearly means that it would have been like completely different. Like it would have felt different. Like it would have been weird. So then now, what they're saying by all this is there will no longer be any main campaign development in Halo Infinite. They're abandoning Halo Infinite main campaign development entirely. So basically, Halo Infinite single player is dead. And then I guess they're going to still continue to develop for multiplayer, but I guess the problem has been that they're not much for multiplayer either. So like, that's why I asked the question. Like,
awesome.
Xbox has had, correct me if I'm wrong, I may have missed it, but Xbox really hasn't had like a banger, like a Game of the Year contender in at least 10 years.
Not an exclusive one, no.
Yeah. So like, I feel like with each passing year that they've gone on without like a real like console seller, that it's increasingly they've been looking to Halo to be that, right? To be that killer app. And because of that, at its heart, Halo is a multiplayer first-person shooter, right? That's what its bread and butter was: multiplayer first-person shooting with good campaigns, sometimes great campaigns. But primarily, like the people who love it primarily for the multiplayer, right? So what I'm seeing is that increasingly Xbox and Microsoft have been relying on Halo to not only be their Call of Duty. It has to be on the Call of Duty level, but then it also has to be their The Last of Us, God of War, like critically acclaimed prestige title, right? So it had to be both in one. I don't see how that was ever going to be possible. Like, has any first-person shooter ever been like a God of War style, like prestige, critical acclaim type of title? Like, what FPSs have been there?
Outside of Halo, not really. I mean, like Gears of War. There were games for a while that tried to copy Halo. Well, I shouldn't say copy, but like the standard with Halo was set when it was like the story is good and the multiplayer is good enough that it's popular. And Gears of War had that a little bit, and so did some other titles, but they didn't bring in the same numbers, but they are as like cult classics in that way. But the problem is like to do that kind of game in today's climate, it's nearly impossible because just making a good story game or a good multiplayer game that is like on the like level of popularity of Halo is impossible. That's a Herculean task.
Well, that's kind of what I'm thinking, because they needed to make two separate games into one, because they needed to make the commercially, so they had to make a critically acclaimed one, right? So one that critics love. There are a lot of games that are critically acclaimed but don't sell well. But they wanted it to be their critically acclaimed game, but then they also wanted to be their commercially successful game, right? So it needed to sell a lot too. And I just think because they had to do both, they didn't really do either. And then also, my last question about Halo is: does anybody like 343? Has 343 like ever?
4 was okay.
Since Bungie.
4 was like fine. I mean, for the most part. I know Nate, you and I played some of the the co-op special missions were. That was fun.
Because Nate comes back and says it was okay. Like, isn't that sort of damning 343 with faint praise?
Yeah, I mean, there was nothing wrong with it. I was basically like, I was like, all right, this is a good start. What next? It's kind of like episode 7 of Star Wars of the new of the new trilogy.
Very good.
I was like, cool. Feels same. A lot of new stuff going on.
It feels like naturally where it's gonna go because there were loadouts and there were some like non-Halo stuff in there. I was like, okay.
Like it wasn't a step backwards, but it wasn't necessarily forward yet.
Yeah, it's like cool. What else you got? Good first start. Good first start.
And then they just never really delivered.
Yeah, like 5 was gonna be. I was like, all right, 4 was fun. Let's see what 5's got. They're gonna bring the other Spartan 2s back. Hell yeah. Oh, it's gonna be like this. Never mind.
Yeah.
And Halo Infinite is basically Halo 6, right?
Yeah, Halo Infinite is Halo 6.
Essentially, it doesn't play the same way the old games do. They're trying to make it more open world, I guess.
That's not so bad.
Pretty well.
I went pretty well. I was across the map, like you said. She'll always get to you, but like you get through the first ones. Yeah, from downtown.
All right, so Nate, you say Halo's not actually dead because they're gonna.
No, but it should be. It's a shambling corpse of itself.
Yeah. All right.
That's my opinion on it.
That's not the response I was expecting. I was expecting you to say like, "No, unfortunately, I think it is," but interesting.
No, it needs to die. It either needs to die or get new management.
Yeah.
Final question then. In like, just
hey,
like
Night Orion.
your pantheon of favorite games of all time.
Oh my God! Can you guys hear me? No? Yes? No? Hang on.
Talking about when I joined Halo.
Yes? No?
Hang on.
God damn it!
Oh my God.
Okay.
Oh God.
We can.
Right.
It's like the audio clips are getting like saved, and then they're all delivering at once for us. So
oh my
it's
God!
like every
Really?
Couple of minutes.
Okay.
I think if you just give it a second, we'll see. How
I'm gonna give it a second, and I'm also gonna make some adjustments. Give me like a couple minutes, and I will. You guys continue this debate here. I will be right back and deal with this here in a second. Hang on.
Nate has to fight Malenia and the internet at the same time. It's great.
Yeah, exactly. It's all deciding to stack up right now.
Imagine having to deal with an entire party of D&D players and one of your favorite companies collaborating together, and you're hosting it. Imagine that.
Okay,
Imagine that
Be
happening.
back in 2 minutes.
Okay.
All right. So for reference, we will come back. We will revisit Halo. The last question that I asked Nate, and I do want to get his answer on this, is peak Destiny now better than peak Halo was? So like in his mind, has Destiny surpassed Halo in terms of greatness? So that's going to be my question to him. Now, while he's gone though, Tom, now that I have you here, I have a question.
Okay.
Is Metroid Prime 4 vaporware?
Vaporware as in like a Half-Life 3 situation?
Like, are we never actually gonna get Metroid Prime 4?
No,
Possibly.
we're gonna get Half-Life 3. It's gonna come out in like 3072. Just watch.
I would not want to play whatever that is anymore. I was never a big Half-Life 3 like conspiracy person, but I was sort of like, at this point, I don't know if I want to.
Here's the thing: if you think about it, first of all, it was announced. We're 4 years out now from the reboot. From the reboot to Retro. If you remember, it was with Bandai Namco first, and that was like 2 years.
Right.
And
so 2017 was when it got announced, and then 2019 is when they were like, "Hey."
Right.
So
so this year, this June, I guess, will have been entirely 4 years out from the switch to Retro. Right.
Right.
And by the way, Retro has not made a single thing since Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze.
No, and they had a creative director or someone high up in that position leave about a year or two ago.
Like everyone who ever worked on Metroid Primes is gone.
Oh yeah, most of them have gone off to
Okay.
other things.
We are now hopefully with a more secured connection.
It won't.
Let's see how this goes.
It could still get canceled because of how long it's been in development hell.
Yeah. And we all
there's
know
enough
Metroid is not like their biggest earner. You know what I mean?
For Retro, I think it matters the most to Retro because Retro is known almost entirely. I mean, Donkey Kong is good, but Metroid Prime series is like Retro's like that is their Halo, that is their golden gem. But
to that point, though, as an aside, I just want to say Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, one of the greatest platformers of all time on any any console ever.
Oh
just
yeah.
as an aside, just so people know.
Uh,
But yeah, I agree. Metroid Prime is their bread and butter. It's where they made their bones for sure.
Fish, we have someone in general chat in the server right now talking about VR games. Just go in there and ask around, see if people are playing VR stuff.
I've been thinking of getting a VR headset, but I mean, I've got a bit of money saved up, but they're still like $400. So meh.
Isn't
Yeah.
Meh.
PlayStation
go
VR
on
2
sale.
coming out this year?
Is it?
Supposed to be,
Yeah.
from what I remember.
I have
yeah.
not been keeping track of anything.
There's controversy about that too, because the reports were that pre-orders have been shitty and less than Sony was expecting. And then
Well,
Sony
probably
had to come
'cause they
back
can't
and
even
say,
get the
no,
PS5
pre-orders have been
out."
great. We're super happy with the pre-orders. That they've had to like correct that somehow.
Damn it.
I've never been interested in VR enough, but I hear about it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
same.
there's
I
not.
mean, it's interesting, but it's just like kind of pricey.
Yeah.
I mean, the Vive
There's
was kind of
actually-
cool.
I've
Max has
looked at a
got
lot
one of
genres
those.
that I think would translate well to VR, but I just don't think there's been a lot of leveraging of the tech. Like, I think a lot of sports games could benefit from VR, and I think a lot of driving games. I play both of those. I just don't think that the value proposition is there. Like, I think Sony VR 2 is going to be like almost $600.
Oof. Yeah, the price point versus the actual entertainment value to me is sort of like, I'm sure it's neat, but it's not worth that much. Not worth a lot of setup.
Same.
I mean, yeah, to that point, like my favorite console of all time, apart from maybe the Super Nintendo, is the Nintendo Switch. And honestly, I haven't picked up my Switch in like more than a year.
Oh, because you got the Steam Deck now.
And that's even
probably
like my favorite platform. I shudder to think how little use a VR headset would get in my house.
Knight Orion says Donkey Kong Barrel Blast is the greatest game of all time. What the hell?
That's
I've
an-
never heard of
You
this
control
game.
That is an opinion and a half, man.
That is a take. It's a take.
Well, hold on. Let me just real quick. Let me just like break you off a piece of this Wikipedia article. It's a 2007 racing game for the Nintendo Wii. It was shown off at E3 2006 convention in May for the GameCube under the title of DK Bongo Blast.
Wow.
If I'm looking at this correctly, it is a driving game that uses a barrel as the control. Is that right? No.
Is it the bongos? Yeah, it's the bongos, right?
It was originally intended to use the bongos
Oh.
as a driving game. So I guess when
Fuck.
they went all in on those two games,
fucked
they were
up.
like, "Hey, let's just fucking fuck our whole shit up."
God damn it.
All right,
I
check
can-
in with Nate. How we doing?
Oh,
Nate?
I either do really well or I get it to about a quarter.
Yeah,
Alright.
sounds about right.
Like that's about
And then-
how this is going.
Do you
Isn't
feel
this
like
the-
you're making progress?
You may hate this, but isn't this the boss that gets back up and there's a second phase also, or is that another boss?
It depends on what you mean by gets back up. But I think
I-
I think that applies to like 8 or 9 different
Okay,
bosses.
well, yes, but I can't remember if this is the one that has multiple phases or not. If that's a different boss I'm thinking of.
Well, we shall see, right? We'll see what
We will
Nate
see.
encounters.
Spoilers.
I think you're
Well, I
thinking of.
couldn't-
I am doing this
thinking of
blind.
Sephiroth from famed game series Kingdom Hearts,
This
the most health bars known to man.
does feel like Sephiroth because she's got a long, ridiculously long sword.
True.
It's like normal width.
Ridiculously.
It's also crazy fast.
Mhm.
I think it's crazy fast too because I think it's actually like welded to her prosthetic.
I don't think it's welded, but I do think it might have like a locking mechanism to it or something.
Yeah, it's like attached somehow.
She's also gripping it by the tang. There's no like ornamentation. It's just the raw forged steel.
Fucking, she's such a badass, man.
No, wait, this is never. I think this is the one I was thinking of, maybe. Been a while.
So, Nate, what I was asking while you were correcting things over there, I was asking Tom if Metroid Prime 4 is vaporware at this point.
Oh,
Yeah.
Because
God
I'm
damn it.
starting to fear that it is, which is a shame.
oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
That'd be a real shame if it was.
I mean, to say nothing of the fact that even if it does come out, it's almost certain to not come out on this generation of Nintendo. Right? It's got to
Yeah.
be next generation at best.
It's entirely possible that it gets canceled because of just how long it's taking. Like, development hell was a thing that was possible in the early aughts and like early 2010s.
Fuck.
Because people had the money to do that. People don't have the money for that in game studios anymore.
God
If
Damn
Nintendo
it.
development hell, you cannot have like a Duke Nukem
God.
Well,
forever.
especially Metroid
have to
Prime,
keep
because the investment's not going to pay off that big. They got to know that the audience is relatively niche for Prime, even as
Right,
good
like
as it is.
Nintendo can afford to take a hit that big, depending on how many years it
Yeah, it
takes.
could be a
But
loss
is it
leader,
going to be
that's
worth
true.
it? Is the other problem.
Yeah.
And I'm saying
'Cause
this
it
because I
even
love
did-
Metroid Prime is my favorite game, second favorite game of all time. But
Yeah,
like,
you're a Prime head.
At this point,
So
I'm also the person.
it's what, Dead Space, Prime, and what else? Top 3.
Earthbound's
Go.
number 1. Earthbound,
Oh,
Metroid
okay.
Prime, and Dead Space probably.
Really? Okay. Nice to know we share that.
I actually had to make a oh yeah, for sure.
Dead
I had to
Space
make a
Prime?
list the other day. Dead Space Prime would be
I don't.
actually pretty sick. I would.
I don't get it. There must be a
Earth Space
reference I'm not
Prime?
getting.
As in Metroid.
Oh.
I thought you were saying Metroid Prime, like.
No,
God
it's
damn it.
It's
Oh.
a mishmash of all 3 of
Oh,
them.
okay.
The
Okay.
name grab is so disrespectful. She grabs you
Yeah,
by the
that
fucking
and
throat, chucks
I
you
can
in.
usually knock her out of it if I'm using the big sword, but I guess it didn't matter now.
Man, she is fucking lethal, this enemy.
Yeah.
love
No
it.
joke.
God, this is
Okay, well, Nate, let's
bullshit.
get back to before you left. We were trying to. I was trying to get the answer from you as to like if you peak Destiny versus peak Halo, which
Yeah.
to you stands in higher regard to you.
Destiny is a more polished version of Halo, so Destiny. Any point.
I agree.
Interesting.
I have many good memories of playing Halo.
Yeah,
with
I
neighborhood
love
kids
Halo.
And,
Yeah,
and playing the story, loving 3, but like
Mhm.
peak Destiny. I mean, by popularity and by how much there is to do and entertainment, is probably just better.
Interesting. All right.
Still,
well,
I still have
I-
fond memories of Halo, but Destiny is just like it's got
Turns
more
out the
going
best-
on, and the lore is cool as hell.
so be it. It turns out the best Halo product is coming from Sony now.
Yeah, yeah,
True.
really. Well, it's just because OG Bungie is fucking
Yeah.
doing Destiny.
Uh-huh. All right. Well,
Yeah,
okay. So that
I-
answers that. We discussed Metroid Prime. Another question. I'm Voice of Doom, but
God
guys,
damn it.
do we really believe that Tears of the Kingdom is coming out on May 12th?
Yes.
Really?
I think it will be this year. I don't know if I would say exactly May
Ah.
12th.
Because
I
my
haven't been
my
paying
follow-up
attention
question was
to
going
it,
to
to be
be,
honest.
do we even really believe that it's coming out in 2023?
I'm sure it's 2023. I think they've been keeping it
think so.
hush hush because their original goal was to do a Majora's Mask kind of production, right? Like
Right.
A
that's why I
shortened
believe it's
time.
this year.
But it really
Here's the thing,
hasn't been a
that's what
shortened
we said.
time.
Here's the thing. That's what we said. We all said, and the industry all said, that it's shaping up to be more of a Majora's Mask turnaround time because they're using the same engine, all the same assets, so they should be able to turn around quickly. But
Right.
we've already sort of proven that that's not working because we are almost 6 years out now from Breath of the Wild. That's a long development cycle, even for Zelda.
Oh God, you're
Like-
right. I didn't think about that.
Wow. Yeah, it's been that long.
Shit.
Yeah. And if you recall, the development cycle for Breath of the Wild was similar. We were talking 7-8 years for Breath of the Wild.
As so far as we know.
And we also don't have a new Nintendo coming, so they're working with old hardware, and it's not coming anytime soon, as far as I can tell. Nintendo, I think, already came out and said that there's going to be no Pro in 2023, and they also ramped up production of the original, like the existing Switch. that
That's
they
very
have.
funny to me.
So that's why I'm thinking. Here's my theory. Here's what I think. My prediction.
Okay.
I think
Fuck.
it's going to be a holiday title. I think Tears of the Kingdom at best will be coming out in like end of October or
Nice.
maybe November for holiday.
Yeah,
I mean, it makes
I would agree
sense
with
to
you. I
do a
think you're right.
holiday release.
Yeah. Because I mean, look, Jedi Survivor already got delayed.
Not surprised.
And that was a pretty firm date that they gave us to be coming out. I guess it was March, right? Now it's in April. And we're talking about Zelda, the most delayed game in the history of delayed games. Like, that franchise delays like nobody else delays.
Oh yeah.
So, I just don't... I think we'll be lucky if we
God
get it
damn
for
it.
holiday, personally.
So I think it depends on if they really are going for the Majora's Mask style thing. Like, I think they could. First off, if they sell the game, using the engine that it does, I don't think that's going to be a problem because one, the reputation the first one has, and two, people still like playing Breath of the Wild. That's not something that's
True.
aged out by technicality. It would,
True.
it would age out by graphics and all that first before it ever would like the actual entertainment value.
That's true, but if you look at the graphics that we've seen in Tears of the Kingdom, it's basically identical, right?
Oh yeah, but that's one of those where I think it will be commercially successful no matter what, because again, it can sell on reputation. I think in terms of development time, though, it depends on what they're adding, right? If they're adding like one or two new features and maybe some fast travel or something that's different,
right, more demanding, I could see it
being. Now, if they're adding something that's like, oh, we're turning the whole game on its head, if they do like a Symphony of the Night thing where it's like, boom, inverted Hyrule, okay, sure, that would be another year probably. But if they're not adding, if they haven't mentioned it yet, and it's like this thing where it's like a big hush hush, but it's like a core component of the game, that is the thing that would make me think, okay, it's not coming out this year.
Well, because you just touched on something also that makes me think it's not coming out this year, and that is, if you recall, when Breath of the Wild got announced, it showed at 2016 E3, which in my opinion was the last great E3. Not only did it show, I believe it was actually playable, because the Switch at the same time was also coming out. Right. So they hadn't actually released or even announced the Switch yet. The Switch didn't get announced until January.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
January. So Breath of the Wild got revealed well before the Switch did, and I believe it was playable on Wii U at 2016.
Yeah, it was.
Now, if you recall, Breath of the Wild didn't get released until the first week of March of 2017. Yeah. So we're talking like 9 months of lead-up time where people actually had hands-on playing Breath of the Wild before it was released. If it's supposed to if Tears of the Kingdom is supposed to release in May of this year, no one has touched that game. We haven't even seen live play of that game yet.
Right.
So like, we haven't seen a HUD. We haven't seen like someone with the hands on a controller playing that game. We've seen cutscenes. We've seen a couple of interstitial, like, curated gameplay, quote-unquote gameplay scenes from Nintendo Directs, and that's it. We've seen 2 trailers, basically. That's it.
Right. Well, and we've hit on this before, Ian, where when it comes to like Nintendo, that doesn't surprise me, because they don't operate the same way that a lot of like the old Xbox and Sony like exclusive dev companies do. Like they're not doing the whole like, here's like a dev exclusive like journal or diary entry. They're not doing the Bungie thing where it's like, hey, here's the progress. They want to be more not secretive about it, but they wait. Oh, it's also partially in the same vein why they waited to even announce it a year prior, because they're selling it as a new console seller, but also they want to make sure both the console and the game are like, are people going to accept this? If not, we have 1 year to figure something out.
Okay, so to add to that, because it's also different, that's a good point, because it is different now, especially than it used to be, even for Nintendo, because in 2016, if you recall, most of the gameplay that we saw, you're right, they didn't do that like developer walkthrough, like, welcome to the world of Breath of the Wild, right? They didn't do that, and they didn't like give you all the technical details, but they kind of did because they followed all their presentations with Nintendo Treehouse.
Right. Well, yeah, and they did start doing that a lot more. I think the thing that's been different is that Nintendo, their whole expansion with the Switch was about bringing in third-party content. Like, finally, you can play Doom on the Switch. You can play Skyrim on the Switch. I think the point was, in general, to be more open about that, and they have been. I think what's different is, was it Aonuma that still works on
He's the overall
Zelda? Yeah. I think part of it is so Nintendo now has the of third parties, right? So now they can have like all these different games come in. I think the difference is that
oh my god, I didn't even get touched.
Wow.
Nice.
Holy shit.
I will have to clip that in a second.
That was amazing.
That's incredible.
Untouched.
R&D1 or whoever is like the internal like Nintendo dev team now, or at least one of the many. I think the way that they the way that they talk about those games in like development and pre-release is secretive on purpose, because they can have the mystique of being like kind of like Apple but for games. That's a very like very hot take. Not actually that they're like that. That's just like the way they present. But I say that because all these most recent like directs and treehouses and stuff are almost entirely focusing on third-party games, because it's how the schedule's worked out, but also because when they talk about big games, like the really big ones that are like Zelda, Metroid, Mario.
God damn it!
God
damn it! That was my best run so far.
Little about it entirely, or they say very little until they get up to the point where it's like,
it takes so
this is
fucking
shipping.
long.
Now we can do talk about behind the scenes.
I would say I would agree with that generally. I think they definitely have changed their approach. I mean, they've always been like that, I think generally, but I think they're even more like that now than they ever used to be. The only thing that I'll say is that I don't know. We just really haven't seen anything. And I guess my main worry is that these last couple of years of the Switch are looking distressingly similar to the last 4 years of the Wii U. Where they just have had virtually no big.
Oh my god, that was the worst.
And they also are not giving us any ideas about what's going to come out. Because like we haven't heard anything about new Mario, we haven't heard anything about new Pikmin, we haven't heard anything new about Donkey Kong, we haven't even heard anything about Mario Kart 9. That doesn't exist as far as we know.
What's going on with Nintendo?
When was the last Mario Kart out? Like,
I feel like they've been playing really close to the chest though with a lot of their stuff.
They have that DLC pass thing out.
I think that's true because that's what they do, right? They're like all their internal divisions are all like skunkworks. They're like, we're not telling anybody what we're working on until we're ready.
Yeah,
which is very true. But like even then, we still have some. Look, we know there probably hasn't been
God damn it
since 1985 where a Mario has not been in development, right? We know Mario's in development.
Yeah.
But what? There's been no other Mario content except for Mario Land at like amusement parks and the Mario movie.
God damn it.
And don't forget, Mario Odyssey was also 2017. That was also 6 years ago.
Jeez. Wow, yeah. Wow. It feels like it always feels like it's like 3 years ago. Like Breath of the Wild was 3 years ago.
Oh, it was like only 3 years ago.
The Switch is old and those games are old. They've been like resting on those laurels now for a full generation of console.
I will say, as a brief aside, I think the Switch is the most pleased I've been with a Nintendo console in a long time.
That's true, yeah.
And I do still play certain games.
Not to say that the Wii U is bad, I just think it got an unfair shake, you know?
There are still games that if I only had my Switch right now, like for some reason my PC and everything else was gone, there are games where I could be like, I can entertain myself on this. It's just other stuff is coming up.
I agree. I think I said earlier that like the only console that rivals the Switch for me in terms of how much I love it would be the Super Nintendo, the original, like the old school 90s. 16-bit. The Switch is amazing. I love the Switch. Nintendo's doing Nintendo things, and I think we all need to acknowledge Nintendo has not done much at all for 2 years at least. So it makes me a little worried that some of the stuff that they've announced, like especially the stuff that we know or technically quote unquote know that they're doing, is the type of stuff that they don't. It's not their bread and butter.
God damn it!
Is not going to make them a shitload of money.
No.
So if any big title of theirs can get canceled, it would be
fuck.
Oh yeah.
Ugh.
Well, and that could be for totally different reasons. I think there's a number of things you hit on there, Ian. I think partially it's this cycle with the whole, the first few years of the console, all the big like Nintendo names come out, and then the last few years like nothing happens. That has happened with the GameCube and the Wii. I think ever since the 2000s really is when that's been a thing. So like I'm not surprised by it because it's especially like as time goes on, the time between other big titles like Halo or God of War or whatever else the other big titles are for other like platforms. The time between those games coming out has been getting a lot shorter. I mean, depending on what all is in the game. And for Nintendo, like, it's not a good cycle, but it's one where they realize like, well, shit, these take a lot more time to be impressive.
Yeah, to be fair,
we're not going to come out with them as often.
Yeah, to be fair, to that point, we hear a lot about crunch at other studios. We hear a lot about bad business practices.
The industry has shifted
too. Yeah. But to your point, like Nintendo does take more time, and they usually make use of it. Like it's usually good. It usually ends up working out. Like, I mean, that happened with Breath of the Wild. That got delayed, I think, 5 times, and it ended up paying off. So it's worth it to me. Like if Tears of the Kingdom gets delayed, so be it. If it ends up being a better product, but to me, it's like, man, we're in that. I guess my only point is, I think it's time to acknowledge we are in the late console stage that Nintendo does with their consoles, which is they kind of stop producing stuff. They go on hiatus for a while they go into their bunker and make shit.
Yeah,
So
I think
that's where we are right now.
whether it's good or bad, the primary difference is this is the first console generation they've opened up, third-party developers, or at least, not just trusted developers, but people to make more on the Switch. So it does compete in that you can play games you can play on most platforms on there. And that's good. I think it's better. It doesn't solve the problem, but they've got enough things in place now that it's like they can still compete, they can still have things, but they're entering a problem where like they've been spending time on the movie, on the parks and stuff. They only know how to make these big name games. They're just now learning how to be, I guess, a bigger property.
God
and
damn it!
The problem is they're such control freaks in a bad sense, but like they care so much about the quality of what comes out, mostly that they have to spend all this time now, dipping their hands in other things. But it also means all of their smaller teams for like the Mario sports games, they get no support, right? When's the last time anyone's talked about Mario Tennis on the Switch?
Yeah.
That's
and
oh man,
they're spreading too thin.
Yeah, I would have loved Mario Tennis on the Switch, Mario Golf, Mario Baseball.
I mean,
there is Mario Tennis. There's Mario Aces or whatever it's called.
Oh, is it? Okay, yeah.
So
but exactly
Mario
that point, right?
They've got Mario Strikers. They've got Mario Tennis. They've got Mario. I think they've got Mario Golf.
Golf is out.
They got Mario Golf.
See that is exactly my point.
People came out to pretty middling reviews and pretty disappointing, I think, for most people.
Yeah,
I think
fun
tennis
for the first few weeks, and then
disappointing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But yeah, to your point, also, Tony, you make a good point that at the end of the Wii U console generation, people were talking about Nintendo going full software, like full Sega, and just doing software only because they were like, Nintendo was doomed, their hardware was awful.
They feel like they've done that like 3 or 4 times now.
Well, here's the thing: at the end, we got to be at least on the back 9 of the Switch generation, right? Nobody is saying that this time. Nobody is like, Nintendo can't do hardware anymore. They're going to go all full software. I think everyone is back on the Nintendo hardware bandwagon. We all believe in Nintendo's ability to do hardware.
Yeah,
right?
I do. I think the Switch was their proof.
Would exist if it wasn't for the Switch.
Yeah, the Switch is proof that they can do it, and it's also proof that they care about opening up. They're not going to stay. This is a bad allegory because Japanese, but like they're not going to stay isolationist in the way that they do. Like console, the way they do their game development practice as a whole, right? They open up third party. They started using non-proprietary software, whatever the hell they had for the DS, and they started using, all right, well, maybe we should look into NVIDIA or AMD or whoever. Yeah. They're starting to like modernize now, but I think that, they have to sort of like loosen up their grip on some of that stuff and realize like maybe we need to innovate a little bit more in that direction.
Well, I think they're better positioned now than they ever have been, especially because, and the reason I think is because from a tech standpoint, because to your point, they've had a hard time competing from a tech standpoint because they're not a tech company. They're not like Sony who has access to all the like great development. But I actually think NVIDIA DLSS is actually a big deal for them because that's kind of a great end run you can do around having sort of cheap hardware.
Oh, would be.
Because what it effectively allows you to do is fake it in a way that gives you great resolution at low resolution prices.
Right.
In terms of like resource costs for your rig. So like because they are on NVIDIA architecture right now and they've been developing on NVIDIA architecture, if they could make use of DLSS in the future, they could stick with not investing a ton of money in their hardware and still get some pretty good performance out of it if they can leverage DLSS.
That's another good point that you bring up, which is that like I think if the current like state of the industry like goes forward as it is, I am okay with Nintendo not being known for having like amazing graphics, right? And like Breath of the Wild sort of proves that you can make a great game that's not like the most photorealistic thing. I think that they need to keep investing in it in the sense of being able to make it at least stay on par with those people, but I don't think Nintendo has any desire, nor should they, to be like, we want to compete with, the photorealism of The Last of Us Remastered. It's like, I don't really need that from Nintendo. It's kind of a different thing. They should keep up with it, but they don't need to be like, they don't need to be like top dog. That's not the point.
Right. I agree. I think they do just fine. I think I personally, if you were asking me, like, would I rather they spend the resources on good gameplay and design or good hardware? Obviously, I choose gameplay and design. I think they are the best game developers in the world, and I don't think it's close. I don't think even anyone at Sony Interactive Entertainment comes close. I think when Nintendo wants to go hard, no one can touch them. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah,
Now,
they take the biggest swings too. I'll say that. Like the innovation attempts is worth it alone.
yeah, but like in terms of their hardware, we also know that they're always like throwing us curveballs in terms of what their new hardware is going to be. I think a lot of people assume that the sequel to the Switch is going to be just a souped-up Switch.
Yeah.
I think they did that. They tried that path with the Wii U, and I think they got burned with it. I'm wondering if that will inform their next generation, because the Wii U was basically a souped-up Wii in a lot of ways. So I wonder if they're going to like let that instruct their future decisions. I'm not saying whether or not they should, because I actually think sticking with the handheld idea is a good idea. But I wonder if that will change their thoughts. I will say, though, that because they always surprise us with their hardware, wouldn't the biggest surprise be if they came out with this incredibly powerful machine that just blew everyone else away from a graphics standpoint? That would be the
for
most
sure,
surprising
yeah.
thing. Because that's basically the one thing they haven't done. That would be the most crazy thing that they do. And if what they're known for doing is crazy, maybe that's not
Right. It's the one thing that they could do that is, it's not innovative.
Oh my
because
God.
Other people
it's not
already.
innovative for us, but it's
Right.
innovative for them.
It's the one sure thing that they absolutely could do, and I think that that's always been in their back pocket, right? They could just be like, all right, well, fuck it, let's have a marketplace similar to Xbox or Sony's. Let's
Well,
get better, hardware. Let's add more
I should-
photorealism games, and they do.
I
I
should
mean,
check
they have
myself
them,
on
but
that too, because I think the GameCube was actually pretty powerful for its generation. Surprisingly
for how
powerful.
small and lightweight, yeah, it was fairly powerful. Absolutely, I think that they could do it. I think it's more of a, as time goes on, Nintendo has a kind of business practice that is like, there's never been a big future plan. It's always been like, it's been like the Disney
It's the
problem
next
of like,
fun thing that we want to do. Yeah.
rest on the prestige, and then stuff will just work out in the end, right? And I think that
success is allow them to have fun. That's
Right.
kind of what they do, which is
And I
kind of
think-
cool. And I think
yeah.
is why they make such good stuff. So
it works, but it is one of those things where it's like, they could do the powerful hardware thing. They are already allowing like most of the games that have already been acclaimed to be on the Switch. Not everything, obviously, but I think they might move a little bit in that direction. I think they're probably going to do a little bit of everything, but ultimately, it's either going to be some other batshit insane thing that might work out, or they're going to just kind of keep doing what they're doing and seeing how long the reputation will just let them do that thing,
God
right?
damn it.
I agree. So I guess we'll see. My prediction officially, I think we see Tears of the Kingdom as a holiday release, not May 12th. I think it gets pushed myself.
I would agree too. And I don't even think that it's because there's some large chunk missing.
Yeah.
I think it's because of quality assurance, which is
Yeah, which they're big on, which is good. We want them to.
yeah, I think that is good. And I'm also one of those people, like I said, I am a big Metroid Prime fan. Whether or not 4 even comes out is not something that bothers me, because the fact that I have a trilogy that I can play at home over and over again enough is like, I can put a bow on that. That's fine.
What if because they never come out with Metroid Prime 4, they never come out with Metroid Prime Trilogy Remastered?
Well, right, so that's the other thing. If that doesn't happen either, it's like, well, that really sucks. I think that would be more doable than doing 4, and I think they technically could still do. They could come out with remastered. Hell, that could come out in 2027, and I'd be like, all right, cool. I'm glad they decided to do that. That's great.
I think the prevailing wisdom in the industry is that Metroid Prime Trilogy Remastered is already done and in the can. They're just waiting to release it so that they can do it as part of like the advertising campaign for Metroid Prime 4.
I think the same thing. I think that what they're doing is waiting on it so that not when it's finished, but when it gets to a point in development where they're like, okay, is this, are we 80% sure at least this can ship, within this date range of like 3 years? And they're like, yes. It's like, okay, well then let's drop the remastered trilogy.
So do you think then that when Metroid Prime 4 officially gets canceled in 2027,
right,
they will still release Metroid Prime Trilogy Remastered, even if they don't release Metroid Prime 4?
I think so.
Again, no hits. Fuck yeah.
Nice.
Figure
Very
that
good.
out.
Yeah, I'm saying just looking at it now, like you've been putting in the dodge work.
clearly it's avoidable. It's not like insurmountable at this point.
Right. It's not like an instant KO.
Yeah.
I think so. Here's my proposed timeline for what happens if when 4 gets canceled, because it's definitely very possible it gets canceled, just based on what Nintendo's prioritizing. 2019 was the last time I think we ever heard about, or no, maybe it might have been 2020, 2021, where someone came on one of the directs and was like, "Hey, we're still working on 4. It is still being done by Retro. It's taking a little bit longer. Blah blah blah, whatever." I think they're gonna have another check-in in the next year or two. I have a feeling we're gonna get a small message, another dev message probably this year. It's not gonna be anything big or exciting. It's gonna be like, hey, either A, we're working on it and it is coming out. Here's how far we are. Like just talking in big picture, like what major mechanisms are done, and that's it. Or it's gonna be like, hey, so we're shelving it or it's canceled.
I see.
So I would say that cancellation happens in the next 2 years. If it doesn't happen in the next 2 years, at that point, I think it'll be abandoned internally, and they just won't say anything about it.
If we don't hear anything about it for the rest of 2023, do you think it's dead in the water no matter what? Do you think we have to hear something about it in 2023 in order for it to still be alive?
Fuck.
So here's the thing: I don't think it's dead in the water as a project.
God
in terms
damn
of
it! Doing it point blank.
Switch,
Fuck.
like you talked about earlier, like it could be a next generation thing. I think the thing with Metroid is it's such a core IP for them that what they will likely do if they can't do it in the current generation is they are. So here's the other angle. What they've released about 4 so far is a teaser in 2017 and some vague talking from 2019, right? They have never actually officially promised, right? They have just said that the title Metroid Prime 4 is currently in development.
Yeah,
So
and
they
we got a
haven't
symbol
actually-
once.
They
Yeah.
said that twice is what they've said. That's it.
Right. And so to most people, to like your average gamer or whatever, they're going to say, oh, well, they said they're doing it. It's like technically they didn't say they were going to do it. And I'm not saying this in their defense. I'm saying this in terms of like, here's why it probably could still be
You're right.
canceled.
That's important parts because they didn't say, and I think the industry could benefit from this generally, and specifically games media, that there's a difference between saying something's in development and saying something's going to be released.
Right, or at least like showing enough content to say, like Breath of the Wild, the Tears of the Kingdom has a trailer. It has some gameplay, video demo in the trailer. Right, it's a much more solidified thing. Like if someone asked me which is going to come out, which is more likely to come out and not be canceled, obviously it'd be Tears of the Kingdom. The thing with 4 is that they didn't ever officially say it's going to happen, and I think part of the reason is because they know how big of a swing it is. Because they only had Bandai Namco to start with. They didn't have Retro. So they thought, we can do this, but after Other M, we need to watch
my God,
our
that's
ass
awful.
because they might not be able to finish it, or whatever comes out might ruin the Metroid IP for so long. We're going to have to wait a decade to make another game. And the other part was also, like, because they said so little about it, they said, okay, we can either start again with Retro, see how long it takes them to even have an MVP. Even if it's not an amazing game, if it's good enough, we can release it and we can finish it, and then we can maybe keep working with Retro after that. Or, as what's happening now,
God damn it.
get closer to the end of the Switch's lifetime and they realize, okay,
What do you do? God damn.
we don't have a lot of big stuff coming out, and this project seems like it is going nowhere fast, or it's costing us too much time and we're hemorrhaging. So why don't we do what we did with old games, like we did with old Zelda games, shelve it for the next generation of consoles, and just say, we haven't committed enough to say that we have to do it now. We can just not say anything, keep it hush hush, wait until the NX2 or whatever they're going to call the code name. And then they say, hey, remember this? It is coming back officially.
I agree, and Nintendo doesn't give a shit what people say about them.
Exactly, and that's the other part is
I
also...
don't think they ever have, yeah.
People think it's a contract when they say that they're going to do something. It's like, well, remember the IGN days? Remember when people thought you could get the Triforce in Zelda 64? It's like, I mean, that's partially why I think, like, Zelda's their big carrot, and Metroid is their big, weird, cosmic carrot that might be a thing, and it might not be. And I think it's also
God.
I think Metroid, the only way Metroid would be, so first of all, I think Metroid could and should be mainstream popular. I think it absolutely could. But I think what it would need to do is be R-rated. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
I
it
think
needs to
for
be
sure.
geared towards adults. It needs to be not Nintendo-fied, like not colorful. It needs to lean hard into its space horror roots, that because it was inspired in a lot of ways by Alien. You
Oh,
know
it
what I
is
mean?
like
And like,
literally Ridley's named
yeah,
after Ridley Scott. Yeah.
exactly. So I think they would need, in order to make it popular for today's audience and a grown-up audience, it needs to lean harder into more of a Dead Space kind of aesthetic.
Yeah, I think in like the current climate of entertainment, if they wanted to do that, yes. But I think Nintendo also understands that like it's not innocence in the sense. I mean, because even like Metroid is darker than Mario and all that. But I think there's a sort of, you can say too much, but you can't take it back if you do, right?
There's
So
a
if they
whimsy.
there's a whimsy to it.
They want, yeah, they want that. They also, I don't know that they have made many games, if any, that just have zero appeal to children.
Right. Well, and that's the thing, right? People always thought, what if there was a gritty Zelda? What if there was a gritty Donkey Kong? What if there was a gritty whatever? It's like, well,
And
that's not really their bag.
Oh my
they've done
god.
shades of that, but to your point, like they've never gone whole hog to do that.
Yes.
Everything they've ever made has always had some kind of appeal to families.
Right. It has enough where it's not painted as like, oh, it's so far in this category, it can't be generalized. Even Metroid has that. Metroid has some scary-ish elements, but it's never been like, oh, this is a Dead Space. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, and by no means do I think Nintendo is ever actually going to do that with Metroid, but I do think that if they did, that's what would get Metroid Prime to be mainstream popular.
I think that's part of the resting on their laurels thing that I kind of agree with, not so much in the business practice of like what they do with hardware or whatever else, but in the sense that
God
they realized,
damn it,
we could, and they kind of tried to with Other M, right? Other M had more human qualities of it, like Team Ninja, who did Ninja Gaiden, worked on Other M. Other M has some more, it's not more adult, but it is more human in the sense that like even Metroid has some cartoony-ish elements in that it's not, it's more photorealistic in Other M than it is in Prime. And part of that is because they've tried that before with Metroid, and it worked to whatever availing effect. But I think part of it is it adds to the mystique. Like they could cash in and say, all right, we're going to make it more like Alien. We're going to make it more like Dead Space because we want it to be more popular. They could do that, but then they realize that like the, quote unquote brand of Metroid would then be sunk, right? It would be like, well, we can never go back to the old stuff anymore.
It would be different forever,
Right, unless it's a side game. Like, so Dread...
but even if it's a side game, you're going to have kids, or you're going to have parents who will be like, I saw this other game, you can't play that side game, even if the side game is...
Right, and for someone like Sony or Xbox, they could do that, right? Like Jack and Daxter did that, where they went to Jack, and then it became like, he says, he gets his one, like, PG-13 damn or shit or whatever, right? They did that, and they can afford to do it. Nintendo started from
that is their
not
brand.
being
they
that way.
can't. Yeah, they have to. That's their whole brand.
Right. If they go too far, they can't take it back. Xbox and Sony, or Microsoft and Sony, can do it as much as they want because
there's never going to be a Resident Evil land at Disney World.
No,
God,
no.
Fucking shit.
I would love to see that, but no.
It would be cool, but they will never do that.
Right.
Nintendo knows where Nintendo belongs. They're going to stay in the lane. But
yeah.
Anyway, that's what I think about Prime and Zelda. I think I basically just am feeling a little bit pessimistic about Nintendo generally over the next couple of years. I think they're going to be fine. I think the games they release are going to be great. I think most of them are going to release. It's just people need to start getting real about, hey, Nintendo, we're not.
It's going to be like a Pokemon Go thing. I think they'll come back, and like there's still going to be a standard. I don't think that the question of that claim, that throne is not up for grabs by any means. I think it's going to be a thing where it's like people are going to be like, oh man, New Zelda was like pretty damn good. Like, is Nintendo back? And it's like, I mean, honestly, I don't know. Personally, I don't care if they make games they want to make and people are excited for them and like I like them.
That's the thing. I guess the only PSA that I would have for people after this discussion is, I think we need to start being more realistic about expectations.
I agree 100%.
Stop thinking.
Oh my God!
Prime 4 is coming out this year. Like last year, everyone.
Holy shit!
That Breath of the Wild 2 was going to be Game of the Year last year. I'm sitting there like, you guys are dumb for thinking it's coming out at all this year.
Oh well, that expands to just like the gamer base of people that play big name video games in general, right? I mean, not even just Nintendo, but from everything. This expectation of just like, well, where's more? Yeah, you just released this. Where's more? It's like, well, hold on, bud. Like these things take time and money. And
Lower expectations.
manpower.
Understand who we're talking about here. Understand that video games are hard, and Nintendo will get to it when they get to it. That's the way Nintendo is. So
Yeah, and I will say I've learned to respect it, not just from Prime, but just from them in general. I mean, they've come out with big titles since then that I've been like, it's just not for me, right? I've got other things I can play. It's not a big deal. And that's also how I feel about them as a whole, right? It's like I've got so many other games on my list right now to play that aren't Nintendo games that I'm like, oh, I mean, if a Switch game came out tomorrow that was like something I've been looking forward to, I'd switch over in a heartbeat. But it's not like, oh, I haven't touched my Switch in 3 months, I'll never touch it again, kind of thing.
do we say anything about what Nate's doing right now?
I think he's playing a video
Liberally,
game.
Nate. There's no reason to leave him on the table, man. Don't pull that out. Yes, sir.
Playing on the Nintendo Twitch.
Nintendo Twitch.
Nintendo Twitch.
Oh my god, okay,
And
cool.
he beats it after I say Nintendo Twitch.
Nintendo
We beat
Twitch.
Malenia.
I would just
Well,
like to say
yeah.
that my
After-
joke got him
I
across
don't-
the finish line. I'm going to clip this later. I just want to say thank you, not to the Academy. I want to say thank you to God. I never thought about this. The big man downstairs.
You said multiple
probably-
phases, even if I'm not totally buying this. Maybe later. I don't know. It's making me paranoid.
Mm.
Oh my god.
It's so quiet.
So
Oh my god.
I'm in the same boat as you, Nate. I have never seen this. I don't know. Who knows?
No, I'm hearing
See,
shit. I'm hearing. Look at that. Look at that.
You
Oh
thought
god,
you
no.
were done?
Oh
Nah.
god. Oh my. Okay, that's where those came from.
Do you think that love can bloom on the
Fuck.
battlefield?
Okay, this is not gonna be PG.
I am the sorrow.
Get ready for some PG-13 rated shit.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Come.
I would love it. It was
PG.
just
PG-13.
Like, she was just like, "Nah, I'm just fucking with you. You're good. You can get out of here."
Yeah, get out of here, you scamp. Oh, okay. I get it.
Oh, she did say bloom. Wow, I was just
How
making
cool
Metal
is
Gear Solid
this?
2 reference. Holy shit!
Ugh.
I've never seen her like this.
Whoa. This is totally Sephiroth. What the fuck?
She is the Scarlet Queen.
She's even got her own. Her first theme was like Hollow Knight, and now it's like Sephiroth.
Whoa. She doesn't have eyes. Does she fly now? Fuck.
Now,
She's got wings.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Cool. Fucking cool.
That is pretty sick, actually.
So cool. Here she comes.
Oh my god.
Good job.
Oh my
No,
god.
no.
Oh god. Are you fucking serious? Oh no. But she's really fragile though.
Wow, I did not.
yeah,
I
yeah.
did not realize.
I took her. I took like a fifth of her life out. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
So here's the thing, Nate. So, first of all, this is
Look at
true
that.
for most Dark Souls style bosses,
Oh my
which is their
God.
second phases. They do more damage, but they also take more damage. So it's 100% true for this one. Also, she took off all her armor, so of course that's also
That makes
true.
that makes more sense. Yeah.
But is it the
it's
same case
definitely-
where if she hits you, she gets health back?
Oh my god. And the
Because I
Scarlet
just
Rot.
thought about that. I think
And the
Yes.
Scarlet Rot. Like I'm just gonna take dot over time, like damage over time, all the time.
This is why there are people dedicated to just this boss. Not even
Like,
just
let me
the-
solo.
not even just
oh, you
that,
mean
that
yeah,
person,
yeah, other
but
people.
That's the
100%.
most well-known one, yes.
I mean, it's kind of. I don't know. I think
But-
it's kind of fun.
in
in the
case
sense
you
of,
haven't
like-
noticed, this, Nate, second phase, as you quite rightly noticed, was that she takes a lot more damage. That's going to be a DPS rate. That's going to be rush now.
Yeah.
But
Really?
you also saw she has that big AOE, so you got to watch the fuck out. So, just FYI.
So
Hey,
she's
man,
like a
big
boss.
progress.
where it's like you gotta
damn
have
it.
5 perfect hits.
Waterfowl.
God damn it.
She still has that.
I think the sword you need like 50 dex to use. I can't remember what the other option for her
Wait,
sword
really?
is, but the
Does
sword
it have like a
uses-
faith
I
requirement?
can get her sword. Oh my
I
god, I
think
want her
it's-
sword.
I think it's mainly dex, but
And
it's
yes,
a lot of
Swing will get her
dex.
sword.
And I can't remember what her other.
I
what
might
her
have to
other-
get
I
this
want her sword so bad.
I could use
Yes,
it.
you can get her sword.
I have 50 decks.
And how many Malenia cosplays are going to happen? Do you think? Have already
first
happened.
phase, probably a lot.
Many have already happened.
How about the
You
second
can
one?
also get her gear in game, by the way, so you can cosplay it as.
Oh,
her
that's
in
cool.
game.
I would
Her
love if there was
weapon
a
is very,
mod.
very cool. You get the waterfowl dance as part of the.
Oh, that's pretty sick.
Thing. Yeah. So it's very cool. Not super useful in PvP because the startup is actually really fun. There's a lot of startup. In PvE,
Since
there's a lot of fun.
Their signature move is the waterfowl dance. I wish there was a mod that turned her into the Untitled Goose.
Honk.
Just honks every time she slashes.
You know what? It probably exists somewhere.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. I've heard that seamless co-op mod is supposed to be like really good.
I
Yeah,
played
I've
it with
seen it.
I played it with someone I no longer hang out with. That
Fuck.
much, but it was pretty good. Yeah.
There's a channel on YouTube I watch that has been doing a playthrough of that recently. It's a lot of fun. It looks like a lot of fun. I want to
Yeah,
try
it's
it.
pretty
cool, yeah.
good. You actually both get to ride your horse at the same time.
Yeah,
it's,
exactly.
It's so
Oh,
much
that is
better for
cool.
quality of life.
Yeah, the way it should have been. From the
It's a bit
beginning.
janky because modding.
Yeah,
but
it's definitely
Yeah.
janky. But it actually works pretty well considering how complex the change is. So I'm pretty
Yeah.
surprised that it works as well as it does. Nate, you're definitely getting better at this phase. I will say that. We're gonna have to go back and do a death count for this, by the way.
Fuck.
I say at least 15.
At least, yeah. I have one
God
more
damn it.
topic that I want to ask about.
I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna go grab a
Alright, we're gonna
water
wait
real
for Tom.
quick. What's up?
We'll do a check-in. We're gonna wait for you before I ask my last question.
Hey,
Okay.
I'll be back in a minute.
Nate, in the meantime,
Yeah.
sanity check. We're gonna check in with you. How you doing?
I was riding pretty low about
Such a-
5-10 minutes
Wow,
ago.
that silence was loud. Woo.
I was riding low about 5-10 minutes ago.
Feeling
And
better now?
yeah, now that I got to the second phase, one that I know it's a second phase, so I can kind of temper my expectations a little bit more accurately. Too bad I don't have a fucking fifth phase though.
Well,
Like-
Nate, what if I told
See-
you? What if I told you that you have a third?
I'm gonna fucking scream.
Will you quit?
No. Sunk fallacy, man. It's too late now.
I'm pretty sure one of, if not the only boss that has a third phase in the entire Dark Souls series
Well,
is.
If you remember, Demon of Hatred Sekiro has 3 phases. And you-
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, fuck. I don't want to talk about that one.
Yeah, I didn't love Demon of Hatred either.
I thought it was fun. I thought it was kind of fun.
I like it.
I mean, it was
eventually.
alright, but
Eventually,
then
it's
you
not my
just
favorite
it was
kind of boss.
it wasn't that great either. I can't
a
even remember
monster
what I
boss
can't
in a
even
game
remember
full of
what
demon
it gave you that was so worth it.
God damn it!
Who are we talking about?
Demon of Hatred from
Sekiro, Demon of
Sekiro.
Hatred.
Oh, okay.
God damn it! It's
think it's
it's
like
that
the
curve around. She's able to
level
turn on that
10
third
of
one. It
material
always gets
is
me.
what
Yeah,
gave you?
practically. So, all right. Well, you're definitely improving, no doubt about that. I'm very impressed. And another thing for your sanity, what you've done so far, totally normal. Most people I've seen playing this have done a minimum of 70 tries, oftentimes upwards of like 120, 150 tries to do this.
I don't know what I'm actually on though, but I'm sure it's that.
I think you're probably in the 20s or 30s at this point, I'm guessing.
I'd say like maybe just hit 20.
Yeah, somewhere around there. We've only been playing for about an hour and a half. So.
Yeah.
So my last question, guys. This one is one of a grievance of mine. And it's more of a grievance because this is one of those things that I don't understand about the human race, and I need you guys to school me on it.
Okay.
Tell me what I'm missing. So what I recently had a revelatory moment where I learned how to use my Steam Deck as a PC controller.
Huh.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's been just about everything I've ever wanted out of a controller. Because one of the great things that, if people don't know, the Steam Deck has like so many great innovative button options and input options that
Oh fuck!
typical controllers don't. And of course, it also interfaces and is completely supported by Steam overlay. So your customization options are basically infinite. It's everything I've ever wanted out of a controller. I'm a controller hound. Like Nate, I know you know this about me. The controller probably means more to me than game performance.
Yep. Yeah. A lot of it can make or break your experience for sure.
Yeah, 100%. So I love controller innovations. I love controllers that push the boundaries, that fix problems that exist. And one of those big problems, I think, for most people, is having to take your thumbs off the stick to hit face buttons.
Yeah.
Right? I think a lot of people's gameplay, and we've seen it here on Torture Tuesdays with you, Nate, it really does cripple your gameplay because it makes running and moving the camera kind of impossible to do at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think, and as an example, one of the best innovations I think that has happened in controllers in the past 10 years has been back paddles and back buttons. I think that has really revolutionized the way I play games and has made games far more enjoyable for me. So my question to you guys is, now that I realize that I'm sort of the exception to this rule, that I'm kind of an outlier because I love controllers so much and I want innovation in controllers, why isn't everyone like me? Why don't people care about controllers as much as I do? Like when people see the because like for example, Nate, you have recognized for a while that there's a limitation in having to take your thumb off the thumbstick to press a face button in order to sprint or dodge, right? Like you realize that sucks to have to do that, right?
God damn it! Yeah.
But even in your realization that it sucks to have to do that, you still were not like, give me that back paddle, gotta have it, I love it, right? You were accepting of it and you're like getting into it now, but you weren't like, gotta have this, right?
Yeah,
my
that's
question
true.
is, why not? Like, why weren't you like, oh, back paddles, this solves my problem, this is awesome?
I think it's the fact that when I have trouble with when I have difficulty because of logistical issues like that, I put it on me and not the actual control layout. I immediately go to my own shortcomings. Yes. I need to manage my camera better or something.
So you don't think about that as being like a design flaw?
No.
Or at least an area where developers and designers can.
Because I inherently assume the game is beatable as is. And
well, okay, so maybe there's a distinction there because I don't think it's necessarily not beatable. I just think that that's an area where like it's low-hanging fruit to improve things and make things better. And the fact that they don't do, because here's the thing, I think every standard game controller that comes with a console, just the basic packaged in controller, should have back buttons. I think the new generation should have had packaged in controllers that have back buttons. I think that the fact that that's exclusive to pro controllers is dumb and completely short-sighted.
God damn it! I mistimed my dodge backwards.
And I
think part of it
feels this way.
Part of it is probably like availability of controllers. I mean, it's the same thing with any other kind of gadget, right? Like keyboards is one where there's a huge collection of like niche keyboard freaks who love to make their own keyboards and they make ergonomic ones. And it's sort of like, okay, we'll get you started on a mechanical one. Now here's this weird PCB X, oh, have you tried out like, the dog keyboard layout or whatever? It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And genuinely, it's like really interesting stuff, right? It's like, oh, people just always use QWERTY, but maybe this other type is a lot better. I think controllers have always just been that way because like it hasn't broken out as much as like other gadgets have, right? Where it's like you can get a single lens reflex camera, but there's a big reason to go back to film, right? There's all these different avenues in that like umbrella of this like hobby, and I think controllers have always just been taken at face value. And like they've existed, right? Like the Elite controllers and stuff, but it's like people have just not. Maybe it just hasn't hit like its stride. Maybe people just haven't been like, hey, there's no articles written about it. No one's come out with one that's been like the big like, we've introduced people to the world of custom controllers, I guess.
So people don't realize what they're missing.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what people say about everything, right? But in this case, I think it's especially true. I do agree back buttons are a good addition, and I think once I start to use them, I'd be like, oh, I can't go back.
Right.
But I think it's just, like people just take, 80% of people who play games are not going to care. But the 20% who play them as often as we do are going to be like, huh, maybe that's actually a good idea. There's a bit of a learning curve, but man, it's good.
Is that there are real like gamer-ass gamers out there, like hardcore gamers who like that's a big part of their lives, they care a lot about it, and they still are like, they don't even consider using a back paddle. Like it's like anti-religion for them. It's like
So
no,
okay,
I'm not touching that shit.
this is another interesting thing I think that also outside of controllers, but still within games, I think part of it's also like accessibility. I mean, there's cost to these controllers too.
Fuck.
But the thing that I think of a lot is like,
God, that was my best run ever. That was the cleanest thing ever.
that was really good. Yeah.
Oh my god. And it
Um,
fucking. Oh my god. Okay. Anyway, as you were.
So part of it is also like, so in Monster Hunter and a lot of other games, if you get high enough level, whether it's multiplayer game or it's single player, even in these games, right? When you start playing games like face value, think like StarCraft. You know, when you first play StarCraft or a
I
strategy
miss
game,
StarCraft.
or
I'm
Command
sorry
and
I can't
Conquer.
play it anymore.
Yeah, or Command and Conquer. I guess you've played Command and Conquer, right?
I love Command and Conquer. We only know Command and Conquer because of Sam and Ian.
Right, that's what I figured. So like, you know, if let's say that Command and Conquer is still like a big game, right? Or in StarCraft's case, it's like when you first start playing, you know that you build a base and you build a lot of dudes, and then you send those dudes out there, and you know hopefully your army is bigger, right? And the more you get into high level play, the more you get into like the meta, right? Even more you get into like, oh yeah, so there's this thing the game tutorializes, but honestly, anyone who plays at this level doesn't even do that shit, and we replace it with something else. Like Monster Hunter has a thing called the claw in the old games, which was if you played on a
I know all about
PSP,
that.
the best way to
Oh,
hold your
yeah.
PSP is not to actually use your thumb on the
Yeah, you
thumbstick and
flip your
hold
hand
it.
over.
The best thing to do is to make a claw with your index finger and your thumb, and use a third finger on the button that your index finger normally
And
rests
that's
on.
because of the camera control
God,
problem.
son
You
of a
don't wanna take your
bitch.
thumb off the stick.
Exactly, and it is right,
Yep.
and it's massively like it's one of those things where it's like I'm sure it's better, but like it's just so I'm already used to playing. It's like trying to play inverted, right? It's like why would I do that when I'm already used to aiming up to go up and down to go
Sure.
down? And I think
But
part
there
of it
isn't an
is
obvious benefit to playing inverted, whereas there
right,
is an
exactly.
obvious benefit to
Right,
playing.
and so that's the thing, right? Is some people, I think partially, like what you're arguing is that some people don't see the benefit because they're just like, well, I don't see how that's going to help me, right? I'm already so ingrained to hitting base buttons. I would agree that with you though. There, I think it is one of those things where the difficulty curve of learning it is worth the payoff, but
That's the
it's a
thing.
weighted thing, right? Depends on who you are.
This is
God
the
damn it.
second, This is the second part of my question, because I'll be honest with you, I just never had a problem transitioning to back buttons. Do people really find it that difficult?
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like now, right? It's a variable
God.
thing. The reason why I bring in the
losing it.
StarCraft thing is because, like, you know, when you play something that's like already really complex, but that you feel like you get a grasp on, when someone introduces a concept that it's like, okay, but it's not whether or not it's like, you know, officially part of the game, or if it's not the default settings, right? Like I agree with Nate where it's like, okay, but these are the default settings. I should be able to do it because, you know,
Somebody did.
if I'm an average human being, I should be able to do this with the average settings. But obviously, there is a benefit to using this, even if it's the claw or the StarCraft thing, whatever. It's like, yeah, it probably is beneficial because those people understand that, like, if you want to get the maximum benefit, you got to do the stuff that's, you know, think outside the line. It's kind of like pirating stuff, right? It's like people want to be like, oh, well, I want to be a good citizen and I want to, you know, I want to do the right thing and pay for streaming. Whereas
wanna
there are
do-
people who are like, fuck that, I don't care. Like,
God damn it.
I will build a house essentially out of a PC just so I can have
Fucking-
my own little.
I feel like she's just whipping this thing out sooner and sooner every time.
I don't know if there's a trigger for that, Nate. As far as I know, there isn't. It's sort of
Maybe.
random.
I've gone like half a fight without her doing it, and then I've gotten it like in the first quarter.
Yeah, I
It,
don't
mi-
think
it
that
might be
there
that it like maybe it's a rate of life loss or something. I don't know.
maybe.
Yeah.
Like if
Yeah.
oh hi.
So to some of the thing that I'm trying to get at, Ian, is that I think I agree with you in that I think like specifically about back paddles, I would like to try one. I've actually been looking at some recently, but I haven't pulled the trigger on them. But I think part of the reason why people are so slow to adopt it is kind of the same reason why people are so slow to like get off certain like social media apps and stuff. It's like it's not just like fear of the unknown. It's about the like the weighing of pros and cons, right? Is it worth the time and benefit to do it? And for something like back paddles, it really shouldn't be. It should be seamless. But for
Okay,
the
so
more
we-
complex
let's
stuff,
talk
it's
about
like
this
I don't know.
Because I sort of get the impression that part of the argument, at least, is that they don't even know what the problem, right? So the
Right.
fact that they never really
100%.
clocked that having to take your thumb off the stick in order to move
Fuck, I'm dead.
the camera in order to press the face button is a
I
problem.
hate this fucking
People don't
move.
know it's a problem until
Ugh.
they get a solution to that problem, and then they realize, oh, this whole time I've never been able to run and move the camera at the same time. This is
Yeah.
great.
Rocket League is a
They
good
never
example of that
realized
too.
that it was a problem. So here's my question though. So if you think back to twin stick shooters, twin stick FPS on console, still a big thing, right? Call of
Yes,
Duty,
it's the standard
you know,
now.
it's the standard.
Well, when
right? It was
Halo
big
1
but
made
it's
it
standard
that
by
way.
Halo made
It
it
was-
possible to do that.
Yeah.
But I think there's this thing that I think everyone who's played shooters knows about called aim assist. The fact that aim assist exists is because twin stick controls aren't good enough to let you aim properly in a video game. So the reason they add aim assist is to cover that last bit of aim that the sticks don't allow enough fine-tuned control over, so that you can actually
Oh,
function
fuck
in
that.
the game.
Why I hate shooters.
Yeah, because it's the interface is what that means to me is that the interface is categorically and by definition inferior to the game it's meant to work with, because the game has to add a function in it to compensate for the bad control scheme, right? So my problem with this though is that not only is that even though that there is this inbuilt design acknowledgement that the hardware design is inferior, there's been very little uptake or willingness on the part of either developers or the consumer to fix that clear, acknowledged problem.
God damn it.
Instead of fixing that problem, they added aim assist. Why don't you get rid of aim assist and fix the problem? And like, that's what I don't understand. And then people like us, gamers, gamer-ass gamers who like know this shit, we still live with, hey, twin stick shooters are perfectly fine. Let's keep doing that. Even though we have solutions at our fingertips. PlayStation, for years, for 3 generations now, have had gyro controls built into their controllers, yet none of their first-person shooters, third party or otherwise, allows you to use gyro control on their stupid consoles. Why do they do this? It's available to them, but they don't even let it be an option.
That specifically, I think, is like it kind of goes like the problem that we had, right? Which is like have this tech, but no one is developing things for it. It's not a whole game in this case; it's a feature. But I agree. I think like so going to what you're saying, I think part of the reason for aim assist is it's to have options. I'm not saying that means that like the aiming might not still need to be fixed. I think
my God,
I think it is accessibility, and that like it could be a thing where it's like, well, if we give them the option at least, they can pick between things, and that might make them have a more enjoyable experience.
That's the thing. Like I totally agree that it should be optional. Nothing should be forced on you. If you want to do twin stick, go ahead. You go with God on your twin stick.
Yeah.
My feeling though is with PlayStation, I think up until recently, the only candidate that's the only game that has departed from this has been very recently Horizon Zero Dawn. They added it after the fact, but up until that point, they've had gyro in their controllers, and you can't enable it for aiming control. It's not available.
God damn it! I hate this fucking move.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So like it's like it's not even like they don't have a solution to this twin stick problem. They have it, and they still willfully choose not to use it.
I think
I don't understand what that thinking is.
On a specific note, that is something that I think should be for gyro control. I think that is something that should be covered by. So that's the other problem, right? Yes, and it should be, but not. It shouldn't be at the game level anymore. There should be an option that is at the system level, and it needs to be more recognized.
Every game should offer it, no matter what.
Well, every game should have the option, right? And so that's part of the problem. Is I think I'm probably just imagining this now, but like part of the issue and probably why they don't all have the gyroscopic thing, like from Breath of the Wild, is because they either don't know how to develop it or they don't have the third party.
Oh my God! Just fucking do over.
And
God, this is the worst run.
There is one reason or another.
That's what I get for switching up tempos.
They've chosen not to develop that part of it. That's true.
Right. But what I will say is that's why I think it should be at the system level. because if we allow, because the inputs ultimately go through the system, right? The system is the catalyst to make these
That's what
games
Steam
work.
does.
What about mandatory control schemes? You have to have, you make them put gyroscopic controls in it.
Philosophy until recently.
Well, I mean, and that's basically what this problem that is solved by, if Sony is like, okay, you know, the inputs are, so this is kind of programming logic, like the inputs are have to go through the PlayStation and then into the game, right? Games have like aim sensitivity settings for each individual game that the developers of the game put in their game. I said game a lot. But the difference with having it at a system level to add gyroscopic is saying like, hey, we are creating a feature where we are doing 90% of the work. All the devs have to do is, you know, use this API, this library, whatever, that will say, hey, it's designed to work where the input of the gyroscopic controls is still being read as if it were, you know, a twin stick, or yeah, or at least like that part of the controller is like, okay, there's gyroscope aiming and there's twin stick aiming, and your game has to at least be able to accept gyroscopic. Obviously, the developers of the game still have to do the work to implement it, but at that point, they can't complain like, oh, we don't, you know, gyroscopic controls and the math to do it is really hard to get it precise, and some games might not be compatible with it. I get that, but I think if it's at the system level, it becomes like an accessibility thing, right? Like when people break their iPhone, what's that little tab thing they keep up where it's like, well, the home button doesn't work, or when they had home buttons, the home button doesn't work, so I have to put this thing on my screen constantly, right? And it works for everything. If Sony does that for gyroscopic controls or some way of integrating that, I think it would be way more accepted, and it should be done, not just for accessibility reasons, but because, like what you're saying, Ian, people could then play any shooter or any game that uses the sticks and also have gyroscopic.
And they can learn the joys of it, and we can move forward in our design. My main complaint is that the reason why it's such a hard thing for me to find a controller that I like is because no one else in the consumer market has demand for the kinds of controllers that I want, and it's because they are
Fuck you, bitch.
Hard to say it. I know that sounds harsh, but they don't know any better, so there's no demand for it, so no one makes it, so I don't get to have it. So this is very selfish of me.
No, I agree 100%. You know, it's a market failure, right? They don't understand there is a market for it, and it's like, well, then, and they don't get my money.
You know that if there's a market for it, and I've noticed this with other, like YouTubers that do playthroughs, they willfully do not want to change. There's like a mentality that if you're not doing it a specific way, you're not like an official game.
Yeah, especially with gyro control, like it's baby control, right? That's the thought around that.
Which is such a weird argument to me. I was like, it took me a little bit. So this also goes back.
Oh, finish her off this way. Come on.
All right.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Nate. Moving on.
She's gonna spawn it as.
There we go.
Does
All
she?
right.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. I'm nowhere near done.
Aww.
I mean, honestly, personally, Nate, I'm gonna let you know. I think this is the easier phase.
Is it?
I think so.
Okay.
Some people may disagree, but personally,
He'll Artorias it in just a
God
sec.
damn it.
And welcome to second phase. And you're right. Damn, that was 3 chugs just to get back to
Oh, I see. She only gets the flower thing once.
No.
Or maybe.
Yeah.
I was
God
honestly,
damn it.
optimistic, Ian.
Oh my God.
That was very hopeful,
wish.
Tom, yeah.
Oh my
No,
God.
You're right, though. She can't spam it, really.
Right. So it's not going to be like an every other thing.
Also, I think personally, that's actually one of the easier attacks.
I've only gotten to this
With the big
phase like
animal.
It only
twice.
gets you once.
Because there's waterfowl, the waterfowl
God.
dance. It doesn't matter
Yeah,
how many
I'm
times
sure she has her own version of that bullshit in that one too.
Like that move, it doesn't matter how many times you see it, it's always hard to deal with.
It's always hard to deal with.
Whereas that move, her flower move, once you learn to deal with it, it's pretty avoidable all the time. It's just the first couple of times you see it, it's like, what the fuck is this? Which by and large is the reason why I think the second phase is easier, because once you learn it, it's easier to deal with her shit. She does throw more bullshit at you, but it's stuff that's more defensible than the waterfowl.
Yeah.
The waterfowl is OP broken. Probably the most broken move that FromSoft has ever put in a video, in my opinion.
I want it in my Sekiro.
Yeah, that would actually be really cool.
Be very cool.
Yeah,
I mean,
gun
Sekiro would tune her up.
You think so?
Oh,
Yep.
but Sekiro has the parry. It's like, get the fuck off me.
God, it's that fucking turn. I can't get my bearings, so I don't know which way to dodge out.
It just fucks up your camera.
God damn.
I should really go play Sekiro again, but I never got the chance to do it after I finished it the first time.
Yeah, I can't control it either.
I wonder.
Oh, Nate's thinking. What are we thinking?
I did do something while in between weeks. I want to try something.
Oh, we got schemes. We're scheming. Anyway, those are all my topics for today, guys.
No, those are good topics. It was I haven't had to talk about.
Or did I not? Oh,
I don't know a while, really.
Oh, the
Fuck.
only other little topic I have is that I changed my
I
build
didn't.
a little bit in
Fuck.
Elden Ring, and now I got rid of Bloodhound Step. I'm not a Bloodhound Step guy anymore.
Really?
Yeah,
What's the
I
new one?
just got Bloodhound Step but I did it on my Steam Deck, and my cloud sync is out of my cloud save is out of
Oh,
sync.
Gotta update that. shit,
So
guys.
yeah, no, it said it like when I opened it up, like with 2 minutes to go, it said, "Hey, you're out of sync." I'm like, I don't have time to care about this, so
Bummer.
I'm stuck without it right now. Never mind.
What
Maybe
is
next time.
Bloodhound?
Because I'm
Or-
definitely not beating this tonight. I'm like 99% sure. But like,
So yeah, I
I'm
did
wondering.
Bloodhound Step for Quick Step. I
yeah,
prefer Quick Step now. Yes.
why is that?
So Quick Step. So I've realized that I've been up until now using Bloodhound Step as a replacement for the dodge roll.
Yeah,
I think the dodge roll in this game is Garbo Town.
like,
really?
So yeah, so I've been using Bloodhound Step exclusively as my only dodge. But I've realized that as a dodge, it's actually not great for a melee player because it's mostly a get in and get out type of thing, and not so good at keeping you in the fight because the dodge is so long. You travel so far when you do it, and you also have very little directional control over it. So you kind of go wherever it takes you. And also, the recovery frames for doing attacks out of the dodge are actually a little bit slower. So it's actually not great for aggressive melee builds, which is what mine is.
Okay.
The Quick Step is actually, it keeps you in the fight without like taking you out of melee range. It also has better, in my opinion, recovery frames for...
Oh my god. Bullshit. We're gonna go till 30, but my god. Oh, fuck me.
Yeah, Nate, I think you...
I can do this. Like, I can,
Clearly.
but fuck.
The problem is you need time to learn phase 2.
Yeah,
And
and it
you're
takes me
not getting through
fucking
phase
ever.
one
I think,
fast.
what, I've done it twice all
Mhm.
night? Maybe 3 times? Maybe?
Twice.
Twice. Okay, yeah.
Why I keep hating this.
What's
game.
up, Nameless King?
I'm a fan of save state games where once I like beat something, I have to do it again.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's so hard for me to. I am not as talented as
Oh.
any other folk here.
Traditionally, that's the main, in my opinion, that's the main factor that causes people to think that Dark Souls games are actually hard.
Real over.
It's not that they're hard, it's that they're fucking punishing. Who fail.
Yep.
The cost of failure is really high.
That's what makes games unplayable.
I mean, it's not to say that the fights themselves aren't challenging, they are. But, like, when you lose, and you will lose at least a few times, you gotta go so far back. You lose your souls.
God,
like,
really?
Yeah, there she is. Wow, nicely done.
Better. I'm getting better at that.
Very well done. And you got a heal in it.
Excuse me. You always whip out some bullshit at the end to make us all go, "That's so fun."
You do improve. Well, I say all the time that like people who say they can't, they can't beat Sekiro or they can't beat Elden Ring or From Software game. Yeah, you can. Everybody can beat these games.
Because Nate can't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because if I can do it,
Sorry.
Oh, this is also an optional boss.
It's yeah, that's true.
Yep.
The reason is because first of all, people are afraid they're not going to get better. You will get better. It's a matter of
yeah,
you
no.
will absolutely.
Yeah.
The more you do it, you will get better. Even if you don't try, you will get better at it. And then it's just a question of, how long are you willing to try? If you're willing to try until you win, you will win. It's like a question. of
God
how much
damn it.
pressure around
God damn it.
Time, pressure, heat.
time and pressure are the only two things you need in order to beat a FromSoft game.
Yep.
Hey,
I make a diamond.
Exactly. And you are obviously getting better at this phase. You are getting down to this level of health way faster.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Have you thought about using a summon?
No.
Not
Really?
allowed.
Not even.
No, too much pride, and
Not
apparently,
allowed.
yeah. And it's
So
just
I will tell you, I from the people that I've watched, like the streamers and the Let's Players,
God.
most of them like say that they don't think they could do this without a summon.
really.
I used one right away.
I used one,
Right.
yeah.
So that's might be something to try maybe eventually. Maybe. I don't know. Like you're not there yet, but maybe to think about.
Maybe.
I know you're afraid of the idea that it's just going to be like a life leech for her.
Yeah, pretty much.
Generally, because her life leech, if you look at it, it's actually not that big. So the
No.
exchange rate is actually in your favor. Like whatever damage that she's getting back from that summon, you're getting much more in return by him making the aggro and the damage that he will do for you. So the combination of those two, I think, really makes it worthwhile if you're willing to do a summon in the first place. Good dodge, you already got that down. Now don't go in yet. This actually lingers for a while.
Yeah.
You should be good now.
All right.
Very
All right.
It is very cool looking.
She's a pretty boss.
Yeah, she's a badass design. Very cool. Easily my favorite boss in the game. She's
Whoa!
also, like, one of the few non-monster bosses in the game. She's a very monster-heavy boss.
Oh my god. Okay, new moves.
Nowhere.
God damn it! Really?
Yeah. Interrupt that heal. Those are wings. Those are rotting wings.
They're rotting. They kind of look like fall leaves.
They're like flowers.
They look like fall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of.
Or like,
That's startup
like
though.
butterflies.
Check your health, man.
butterflies.
Yeah, working on it.
Yeah, they do look really fly out. I think they might be butterflies.
Fuck.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was okay. Here it comes. She still has it. I hate to break it.
Fuck is that last one?
Oh, and it's like
damn
way
it.
more interstitial now too.
Oh my god!
That's
All right,
harder
I get
to
one
do.
more attempt at this. If it's gonna take me this long to get to this phase, I got one more attempt, one more decent attempt if it goes my way.
Yep.
Oh my god!
I might have time to finish the rest of the game actually.
Fuck.
I was ready
Here's
to
the
be able
thing
to finish Malika.
This is one of the boss that I really like, and I will say my character build, it's easy mode for me. And the reason is because she's weak to bleed. She's also weak to
Oh yeah.
Oh, true.
and
Yeah.
she's also very counterable with other fast builds. So because I use Bloodhound Step and Quick Step, I find it's much easier to deal with her because of that. So in my opinion, this is one boss where it's not hard mode, because usually my builds are hard mode. Not the case with this one. I think I'm actually getting off easy mode. So I think, Nate, your build is it's a little harder for you. It's a little harder for strong, like buff builds, like big boy builds.
Yeah. Well, right now I'm kind of a quality, but yeah.
Yeah, no, like even compared to like, because my build is definitely a straight bleed build. Quality is way more nerfed against her than bleed is.
This should be. There it is.
Bonk.
So that's the reason I say that, Nate, is because there are options to you to make this easier. You can switch to a bleed build or a frost
Fuck.
build, and get some benefit of that if you wanted to.
All right, I got time for one more try apparently because fuck me. So
On that run, she just deleted you.
yes, you are
That is
very
the waterfowl
observant.
dance.
You're very correct in
You
that
removed
assessment.
your existence from the
Like,
universe.
It
Fancy.
feels like if I start tuning her up too fast, she busts that out faster, and she's like,
You think
"Remember
you're
who
pissing
you
her-
are. Remember who I am."
You think you're pissing her off? She does have an attitude, man.
I
keep
do like to
saying
think that sometimes when she's running at me, because sometimes she'll walk at you and sometimes she'll run at you. And when she runs at you, she's like, she remembers you from last time. She's like, "Oh, this
Yeah.
motherfucker."
it.
She's the Pete Weber of Dark Souls bosses.
She deletes you with extreme prejudice, is what she does. It's not kind. I mean, look, she trash talks your ass better than any character in this game. The way she starts is like, I'm the blade of Miquella, and I've never known defeat. And then when she does inevitably beat your ass, she says, "Hey, guess what? I'm a blade of Miquella, bitch." Like,
you didn't hear me the first time.
Like, so badass. And now, in the second phase, she's like, now she just tells you to rot. She uses rot as like a command verb. You will rot now.
All right, not bad, not bad.
Oh, that dodge. She's also like the most anime as fuck character in this game.
Oh,
yeah, for sure.
100% anime. Ooh, command grabs. That was a cross-map command grab. Jesus Christ. Good interrupt. That's the saving grace here. That's another reason why my build is good. Because she takes stun.
Yeah.
So the more hits you can lay on her, the faster the damage will go because she will take hit stun.
Fuck.
So my build is a little unfair in this case.
All right.
Nice. Nice. I don't know. I think that's pretty much it for the news in the game world so far.
I don't think so. We covered kind of a lot of it, right?
Yeah.
I think you guys, covered a lot of philosophical challenges here.
This year, it seems like there's going to be a lot of other bigger releases people are looking forward to. Not even just like in the big name stuff, but like all the small, smaller
Hollow Knight
stuff.
Silk Song, right? That's coming out.
Do what?
Hollow Knight Silk Song. A lot of indies coming out this year.
Yeah, still need to actually beat Hollow Knight. Have not done that.
Yeah, I'm not good at that. I played it for an hour or two and just didn't bother.
Yeah. I love. I've played a couple dozen hours in it. I just need to get through Deepness and then I'll be good.
God damn it!
I love Hollow Knight, but there's a moment in Hollow Knight that I think is actually a really big miss on the developer's part, where a character steals all of your money. And
I know what you're talking about. I hate that bitch.
And like at that point, like I stopped playing Hollow Knight for like a year at that point because I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? There's no way I'm going back to this now."
I had a similar feeling. I did. I was like, "That's the stupidest." What is this?
Yeah. It was like to me that was like a mortal sin that the developer shall not commit, and like that was just like
stealing your money.
It just took all my shit, like, because I had a ton of money on me, and I was like in this middle, because you're in the middle of a build, right? Because it's basically like an RPG almost.
Get the pins, yeah.
Yeah, and like.
Oh my God! Come on.
Like I'm digging this build, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Nope, you don't get to do this anymore. I'm taking all your shit." And it's like sends you back to like Babyland, and I'm like 50 hours into the game at this point, and I'm like, "No fucking way! Did you just do this?" Like, you just completely like stalled out this momentum that I had built, and it's a Metroidvania game. So like, when they do that, it's already a game where you pay a penalty if you check out for a while, because by the time you come back, it's like, oh shit, what was I doing? Where was I? Where am I supposed to go?
Fuck, and that's how we ended tonight, guys. Oh my God. All that for fuck all.
We did it awesome, actually. Clear improvement. You will beat her.
Yeah, I have to get familiar with her bullshit.
You got through her first phase a number of times. That was the other part too. That's improvement in my book.
Oh my God.
By the way, I know I've sort of said this before, but like, don't forget, you have made it consistently to the second phase and made it a decent way into the second phase without dipping into any other like build changes, any of the other stuff that you could do to make this easier. Like, you're not using summons, you're hard moding it, and you're making it. So like,
and I think one of my biggest holdbacks is that sometimes when I get pissed off enough to switch from this to this, it changes the entire tempo of how I deal with her. And there's always if you go back and watch this, you can see when I change the tempo, I fucking suck for like 2 or 3 rounds, and it's a big waste.
Yeah, it's a different fighting style that you got to learn.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, and again, you're not playing it on easy mode the way I did it. So like you're playing already on a hard mode because of your build choice.
Yeah.
So,
well,
like,
I appreciate the consolation here, guys, but holy shit, this, like, oh god,
so fun so far. Would you say?
Oh yeah, definitely toughest boss, probably of any from Souls Kiro game.
Yeah. From Souls Kiro.
Yeah.
Would you say is the other hardest boss the Demon of Hatred for you?
No, probably Ishin.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Like final form Ishin? Yeah, I think he's probably pretty hard.
I seem to remember you not having a lot of trouble with Ishin.
I just remember that being really tense, and like the demon, it was a marathon, but it wasn't like once I said like, oh, the umbrella, got it. Like,
well, that was the thing, yeah. So I remember Demon of Hatred was like really tough until it became like a team effort where we were all sort of like working on it together.
Yeah.
So I guess you're right. At that point, it was a little bit easier with the umbrella and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe there was more hopelessness with Demon of Hatred for a minute.
It seemed way more daunting, whereas this is like the hype was like, oh, you're gonna die like phase 1, like for through week straight, and
you see yourself getting better.
And I see, I think I'm more familiar with Souls, like the Souls schema in the first place. That I'm like, okay, I think I know how to manage myself now.
Better gamer now.
Yeah. Oh, also, Armored Core not gonna be Souls-like.
Well,
no,
I mean,
it shouldn't. I mean, Souls.
It's Armored Core.
Armored Core is not a Souls game. Yeah, it shouldn't be.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying. I think a lot of people are either really upset by this or really psyched about that, because for a while, FromSoft has been like, oh, Souls, like that whole format, because Elden Ring is Souls.
Yeah,
like,
but
Bloodborne is Souls.
These are the same people who are like, well, all right, you just came out with your big new AAA game after 10 years. When's the next one?
Well, so I think we know it's not going to be a Souls-like in the traditional sense. One thing I think we can all be sure of, though, is that it will be a FromSoft-like.
Oh, for sure. It'll be FromSoft hard. Yeah,
there will be bullshit. So
From hard.
That'll be a subtitle of the subtitle. Fires of Rubicon, there will be bullshit.
There will be bullshit, yeah. Although,
there will be bullshit.
Yeah, no, that's just priming me for more mech action. I want more mech action in my life.
I've never played an AC game, but I've heard they're good.
Mm-hmm. All right, Tom, you and me, maybe this weekend we can get together and do like a test run of some like mechanics or something.
Yeah, I actually. So funny you mentioned that. I joined the, I guess what is
Pilot.net.
Yeah, Pilot.net. So I took a role on there that lets you get pinged whenever people are recruiting for Lancer games. Someone is running Solstice Reign, and I was just added onto it, so I should be finishing that up in the next month or so. I wanted to see what it's like when other people run it.
Yeah.
But I would still be down to, like, as I'm playing through that 4 or 5 session thing, to do some Lancer on the Discord.
This is Lancer, by the way, guys, in case nobody else knows what the hell we're talking about.
Mechs.
Castor crew. More mechs. So,
Always more
mech. But anyway, all right, we're gonna call it here. I'm hopeful for the future. I might still like just play here every once in a while, just to keep my skills sharp, so there's not so much of a startup lag next week.
Yeah.
But tune in next week for Malenia-mania Part 2, 2.5 maybe, because I played her a little bit last week too, so 2.5. Hopefully we finish this out next week and I can move on with my life.
I think there's a good chance that you will.
It's a fair chance. I just need to get used to like phase 2.
Yeah, you just got to put those foolish ambitions to rest.
Yeah.
If you don't play a different game between now and then, I think there's a really good chance.
There's a good chance I might play some Monster Hunter.
That's the problem. I think
title update 4 it's coming. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is. I didn't hear much about it, but I didn't hear anything about it actually.
The news came out today, but it was like in the last 15 minutes of work, and I'm like, I don't want to start watching this with like 15 minutes to work to go.
Yeah, we'll have Cameron tell us on Monday anyway.
I'm sure. Yeah. Or maybe he might want to stream tomorrow too. Who knows?
That's where all my news comes from.
But yeah.
Cameron? Yeah.
So we'll get together this weekend, Tom, for one reason or another, and and then we'll see what's going on after that. So thank you all who tuned in and came in to hang out tonight, and anybody who watches us in the future. We appreciate you very much, and we will see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Everybody, see ya.